Thank you. I accept your gift.
Hello?
I should take this back to the ziggurat.
Need a guide? Some odds and ends. I'll take it. See you. You found
Until
it.
next time. Let's get this over with.
That's insane. Yeah. The first one.
This is the best act by far. It's like, oh, this visuals or just the way it played.
The first one.
I would tell you it's Act 3, and the reason why is because I was getting pissed off in Act 1 and 2. Act 1 was pissing me off because I was new to the game and getting my ass kicked by everybody, and I didn't have good gear. I didn't have crafting mats. And it's never going to be Act 2 because the caravan still confuses me. Like, I never know where the hell I am. I never know if I'm in the overworld or in the underground. I never know where I'm supposed to go, ever. It's never Act 2. And then Act 3, I had my build online, and I was actually able to do stuff.
Oh,
For me, it's Act 3. So let me guess, your favorite was Act 2 or what?
I love Act 2. That's so good. Oh, but I can't believe the Act 3 take. That's the real contrarian take because people feel like Act 3 is such a slug. I didn't necessarily see that. I saw Act 3 as where the difficulty for me really leapt up on my first playthrough. Did you not feel that way? Did you feel like your build was on at that point?
I felt like I feel like I had actually made a build at that point. I felt usually stronger the further that I went. And also another difference for me is it was my first time playing. I didn't know to, use a transmute and then an AUG. I played PoE 1, but it wasn't immediately obvious to me. I didn't know vendors were strong. I didn't know when I should regal, when I should exalt. Didn't know when I should out. And then by Act 3, I'm like, bro, at least I have yellows on and I have some points, and I have some spark damage nodes.
Oh yeah,
I could actually do stuff.
Oh, you started with a sorceress, not a warrior, dude. Come on, can I even trust your experience here? Honestly,
Dude,
like,
You
come on.
want to know why I didn't go warrior? Because from what I heard, from what I was hearing, everyone was going warrior. I thought warrior was going to end up being like the greatest class ever, because everyone's like, oh yeah, go Titan and the two-headed maces and just smash everything. I'm like, all right, I'm going to do something different. Let me go sorceress and let me do something different. But then the cast on freeze was too strong. I was like, hell yeah, I'm so glad I went sorceress, and then I got nerfed the next day. I'm like, okay, there it goes.
In Act 3, and I know you've been loving the bosses of Path of Exile 2 in Act 3. Do you have any standouts for which boss was the most fun to fight first time, or?
The Viper.
For me, it's by far Doriani. I love
Dorian.
I love the voice acting there. I
The
love how
demon
he
of
was taunting
Atzvatl,
you
let's
the whole way
come
running
for
through he was my favorite by far.
Ooh yeah,
Big standout
he's
boss.
very good first fight, and I'll ask it. I think I know the answer. Do you care at all about the lore and story of Path of Exile?
I really don't. Here's the thing. I do like lore and story. I love like Final Fantasy VII, for example. That's my favorite game of all time. In ARPGs, I'm trying to zoom, man. I'm trying to zoom. I'm trying to kill 10,000 monsters per day. I cannot be bothered with lore. Like people, it isn't often, but like for example in Diablo, sometimes people ask me like, do you know anything about the lore of Diablo? And I say, yes, I do. Diablo was a nice guy. He went to Chipotle for lunch. It was closed, and he became the primeval. Can't really blame him. That's my lore for Diablo 4. It makes sense. That's it. There's nothing more to it.
That's totally fine, and a lot of people approach Path of Exile in the same manner. I only ask because, damn dude, that fight unleashes some bombs for the enthusiasts like myself in the community that we've been geeking out about, but I'll just refrain from approaching it here. What would your canon of Path of Exile be? I'm curious. I know Diablo is related to Chipotle. Is maybe Path of Exile like Qdoba or some other fast food restaurant?
I think it'd be a Chipotle again.
Oh,
let's put them both where we want them to be. Okay. Here's the problem. I actually, who is? I don't even know the lore. Maybe you can educate me. Like, Kitava is a bad person in Kitava. Okay, I know something. Wait, I know something. We didn't we commit a crime and now we're exiled to Ray class, which is like this like bad place. And
That's
then
in
we're
one.
Then
like,
you know about Diablo, and you've played
Yeah.
Diablo 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's go,
yeah,
dude.
exactly.
Let's go.
Exactly. I mean, we did something. We're exiled to Ray class, and Ray class is bad, and Kitava is bad. That's what I know. That's
You
that's what I
did it. Great job. You probably know more than 80% of people, so that's really good, dude. I love it. And then in Path of Exile 2, we still don't honestly know what's going on. We haven't finished the story, so you don't need to know anything there. Sin
Okay,
is
we're
good
gonna get
or
to
bad. Maybe. We don't really know yet. I think we're going to kill him at the end. It'll be cool.
So that's what I was wondering. We get this hooded figure. I was like, oh no, we shouldn't help him. He's like, I am sin. It's like, that doesn't sound good either. I still don't think we should help him. Like, there's like there's a beast.
Yep.
Wait, there's a beast in a cage,
Yes.
and
Are these?
that guy cut the cart so the beast could run away or something.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Yeah, so the beast and the girl could get away, you know?
Yeah,
Oriana is her name.
Oriana. Okay.
Oriana, yup. It's very interesting. Lots of stuff going on. You know what, Rax? When the full story comes out, we should do a lore stream together. It'll be great.
Okay, I'll just listen and I'll just ask you questions. It'll be beautiful.
You should do an MS Paint of the Lore. Dude, people would eat that up. Oh my god. Oh, you should 100% do that for Path of Exile. I think that'd be genius. So,
Okay, if you
Content
train
idea.
me on the lore, I'll do the abbreviated version in Paint. We can do that.
okay, I actually need to do this now. Okay, so, write this down 1 second. Okay, written down. We're good.
Okay.
It's gonna happen in the future. Okay, so lore,
If it's written
bosses.
down, it's gonna happen.
It is. I write everything in my notebook, okay? Everything in my little notebook right here. I have like 20 of these for Path of Exile. Yep.
It's organized.
Okay. I try. I try very hard. So, Act 3, favorite boss, Doriani so far. Is there any boss that you just hate? Just bad?
If we're talking mechanics, I can think of a couple of them. The one that I think absolutely must change is the Queen of Filth.
That's slam.
Think about.
Yeah.
Yeah, it tastes better than it looks. No, but the problem is her
The double
little
slam.
rolly bob smash. Like you know it's coming, so you're standing there, and she starts rolling at you, and then you roll perpendicular to the attack to dodge it, and then she has this like way bigger than you would expect gigantic hitbox, and it just drags you to the edge of the map, and you just die. You just get hit by it. And I was just like, every time I fight her, every time she has that roly-poly attack, I'm like, who made the hitbox on this? So I'm never gonna forgive grinding your games for that. I don't know. That's the one that pisses me off the most by
That's
far. is the Queen
interesting,
of Filth.
man. Because when I fought her, the jiggle physics were distracting me. So I wasn't even watching the mechanics. It was just, I was just sitting there with the corner staff. She was going like blah, 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 all around and nothing. I killed her. Out of my mind.
Nice and easy. And then
In maps though. I think is she the Meyer boss? I can't remember.
she,
No.
I think
She might be.
you encounter her somewhere, and
You do. And she killed my ass the first time. With that first attack, she just bounced on me and I died.
do the hitbox and the dragging there. I don't know. I'm gonna have nightmares about that for a long time. And then the boss, I believe it's in Act 2 with the 3 seals that disappears. You have to find her and like the poison thing.
Oh, Balbala. The
I get
traitor.
it, it's like a cool mechanic, but it's pretty brutal and unforgiving. Like, I am not having fun here grinding your games.
Yeah, Balbala, she's tough. So my dad, also, by the way, he watches your content. Love you for Diablo 4. He got stuck on that boss for an hour and a half because he could not figure out the poison. And I told him, he texted me, he was like, what's going on? I can't kill this boss. The poison appears and I just slowly die. And
Yeah.
you just gotta look for the boss. Just go in a circle. And you'll find her. It's fine.
I actually panicked when I fought her. I was like, chat, what do I do? And they're like, go find her. I'm like, how? how do you guys know that? Like, how did you know that? But yeah, you guys are right. Fun fact, we did the, I don't know if you watched it, but we did the Samsung racing competition. It was me and Ben against, that boss was the only boss that wiped Ben and I. She killed us both.
Oh, that's so good. Did you guys end up winning that? I know somebody had God RNG. Was that you guys?
Yeah, it was us. The gods smiled upon our voyage, as they say. We had insane gear, so it was. It wasn't really fair. It was fun.
Very nice, very nice. How do you think? So, just totally off topic. How do you think that racing will look for Path of Exile 2? I know you weren't hard into Path of Exile 1 until recently, but I think you did try out some like the Gauntlet events and everything. Do you think it'll be interesting in the style of the game that it is, with the campaign being so harsh? At least on that first playthrough, if you don't twink gear.
Oh, I'm 100% sure on this. You and I have been around a while. We don't need a crystal ball here. We know exactly what's going to happen. It's the same thing that happens
The
in
ball
the game.
blood!
The players are going to figure it out. The Tai killers, the Havocs, the Ben.
Oh.
I'm very positive about Path of Exile.
Off topic. How do you think that racing will look for Path of Exile 2? I know you weren't hard into Path of Exile 1 until recently, but I think you did try out some like the Gauntlet events and everything. Do you think it'll be interesting in the style of the game that it is, with the campaign being so harsh? At least on that first playthrough, if you don't twink gear.
Oh, I'm 100% sure on this. You and I have been around a while. We don't need a crystal ball here. We know exactly what's going to happen. It's the same thing that happens in every game. The players are going to figure it out. The Tai killers, the Havocs, the Bens. They're just gonna run through everything with almost nothing, and they're just gonna win, and they're just gonna post incredible times, and they're just gonna get it done, because that's what the players of these games do. They figure it out. So I think there's already like, I heard like a 43-minute Act 1 starting fresh, like SSF, which is, if I heard that correct, which is absolutely mind-boggling. The community is gonna figure it out 100%. And they're gonna fly for sure.
Havoc has around a 5-hour playthrough so far of Acts 1 through 3, normal and cruel, while on a treadmill. So it's gonna be really interesting to see what they come up with. I think that a lot of people are worried that this campaign will be too long and draining after their first playthrough, which for me, man, I think it took me 38 hours or 40 hours to get to endgame or something like that. No way it's gonna take that long. And I don't know, how do you feel about that? Do you feel like it's too hard and too long right now? I feel like in your review you may have mentioned it being a little bit too long right now.
Act 3 is a bit on the
I
long
might be
side,
misremembering. I've watched a lot in the past few days.
but it's honestly not that bad.
Whenever I approach a question like that,
Yeah.
is the game too hard or not? I think it all boils down to nothing to do with what I personally think. If you make it as hard as, I don't know, Elden Ring, or the Elden Ring expansion, or you make it as easy as Mario Kart or whatever. Actually, Mario Kart at the highest level is actually very difficult.
It's insane, dude.
Oh yeah.
Right. I watched that. It went back at me. I watched all of his world records on YouTube. But anyway, you can make it as hard as you want, or you can make it as easy as you want, and I'll play it happily either way. I think it all comes down to grinding your games. What is their goal? Sometimes from the people who have played Path of Exile for a long time enjoy that they have so much knowledge and skill at a difficult game that they have, and they've built a mastery. They have an advantage over other people, and it pays off for them league after league after league. A lot of them want Path of Exile 2 to keep that difficulty, if not ramp it up. That way they can continue to find success in that way, or some people just enjoy those kinds of games, or both, or there's other reasons or whatever. But I think I think a goal for grinding your games should be new player acquisition, not at the expense of not making the game that they are envisioning, but if you make the game so impossible for people, if you turn it into a Dark Souls game, you will 100% alienate a portion of the audience. And then again, a lot of people say, that's totally fine. Get them out of here. We don't want to be playing Path of Exile 2. I don't think that is such a smart mentality for grinding your games. So this is the way that I approach it. If I was in grinding your games and I'm trying to make the game that I want to make it as difficult as I want to make it, but I also want to bring players into the game and feel like they can play PoE 2, which I should say, by the way, they've already done a lot of nice things to already make that happen. I think what you do is you ease up on the gas at the beginning of the campaign. You make Act 1 a little bit easier. You give them a little bit more drops. You make the bosses have 10% less HP, or you be a little bit more lenient on their telegraphs. Let people get into the game, get some items, get their build going, and again, it's kind of like we talked about earlier about learning a concept. Let those building blocks be established, and then if you want to make Path of Exile hard as shit, pardon my French, put the difficulty later. And that way, all the people that are salivating for their knowledge and their effort and their time to pay off, it will. Act 1 being a little bit easier will not hurt that demographic while also boosting retention for people who actually enter the game. So that would be, if I was advising grinding your games, that would be probably the way that I would approach it. Ease up a little bit at the beginning of the campaign, and you can make the rest of the game as hard as you want if you let people get their build online.
I think that's a good approach. As I've played through the full game now, almost the full game now, I haven't faced the pinnacles yet. I've realized that the curve, at least in my opinion, too, needs to be adjusted. I feel like at the beginning it might be a little bit too tough, and then as you hit Cruel right now, and then Endgame, I at least felt like a god almost instantly in Cruel, and it was shocking to me seeing my character trudging through Acts 1 through 3. It was very difficult, very visceral, very different from PoE 1. And then once I hit Cruel, I deleted bosses in 5 seconds. Then I got into early Waystones, and the same thing was happening to all the mobs. And I thought that would be adjusted as I got further and further. And even though the bosses are now tougher in T15s, I'm still deleting almost everything. And I am by no means a master build creator at all. I literally, like I said at the top of the talk, I just plugged stuff together that I thought worked well. I haven't done any optimizations. I don't have great gear, any of that. So I feel like what grinding your games needs to do, like you said, they need to take a step back. They need to look at what they want their game to be, and what what the grand new audience also wants. I think we're still at like 300,000 plus concurrents almost a month in, which is crazy daily on Steam, wild. And adjust the curve little by little. I really hope that they take their time with these big changes. I hope they don't just make a massive shift. They might, because it's early access. I really hope they don't instantly, drop all mob HP by 40% or something in Act 1. That'd be crazy. I think like 10%, that's way better. 5-10%, way better. I hope they don't suddenly make maps way more difficult in the entry point and all that. I really hope that they're fine with experimenting and fine-tuning. Even though I think a lot of people are rallying for those large changes to happen fast, I still respect that. I think this is probably what their initial vision was. And I don't necessarily want them to just kick it to the curb that fast. And I know that might sound like I'm like chilling or standing for grinding your games. I'm not. I just, GGG always starts things really tough and then they nerf them. Because you can't start low and then move it high. You can't start it easy and then move it harder. People will bounce way faster than if you do in the opposite direction. So it's a very tricky subject.
I think one thing that people forget is if you zoom way out and stop looking at any of the details, grinding your games has proven that they're pretty good at making video games. They can make video games. So we honestly don't really need to tell grinding gear games what to do. It's almost like just by playing, we just need to give them the telematics. We need to give them the data,
The data.
and they will be able to make the
The
adjustments.
numbers, Mason.
I
The numbers.
completely agree with you when you said I don't want any drastic changes. There aren't any things like I can't think of too many. I can think of a couple, but I can't think of too many things that just absolutely don't work at all. We saw from the verbiage in grinding gear games patches where they said we really can't move these things too much, or like you said, you can't go the other way. The community won't allow you to. They'll just complain. I think grinding gear games knows that these drastic changes, first of all, they're not going to do it, and they're also just not needed. I think people underestimate how tiny little adjustments here or there, especially if you make a couple of them, compound into something much better. Like in Act 1, if you're getting 1 to 2 more yellows before you get to a boss, that's significant. That's multiple mods that you had. It might be life, it might be a resist here or there, and it starts to make a lot of difference. We don't need 40% nerfs to bosses or anything like that, unless it's maybe in the end game. And I think that grinding gear games' goal is in a normal playthrough that when you're fighting the boss, it is some kind of an experience.
Yeah.
And on every single one of my builds, again, never having played the game, and I did not follow any build guides like you, I made my own. Every single experience in cruel difficulty, I pretty much just insta-deleted them without even seeing any mechanics. Certainly not all of their even full move sets a single time. And I don't think grinding gear games is going to go for that. I wouldn't be surprised to see them give you better gear, and maybe they even ease up a little bit on the trash mobs and the elites, and then they make the bosses higher HP so you actually experience a boss fight. But these are things I'm not really worried about, because grinding gear games knows how to make video games. They're getting a lot of data from us. What I've seen from them so far has been always moving things in a better direction. I have no reason to be worried about anything.
Yeah, I think those are all good takes. And by the way, I think in your last video you mentioned wanting to talk to them. I'll rally to make that happen, bro. I'll say something. I'll be like, Rax really wants to talk to you guys. I think that'd be such a good chat. I think it would be so good.
We should both
We'll
talk to him, man.
Hopefully they go on like another tour, maybe February, March, before that next big patch comes out.
That's such a good word for it. A tour. I saw them interviewing everybody. I'm like, I want to ask them questions. I want to talk to grinding gear games.
Did you send them an email? You should send them an email. I know you say you send Blizzard your feedback.
I don't even. They did ask for my feedback with the document. I don't know if you saw it. I made.
They did. Yep, I did.
Yeah. I sent them the document, so at least they read that.
Oh, that's awesome.
That was nice.
That's
Yeah,
so
that made
good,
me
man.
feel good.
Let's talk about the end game, and then I have to ask you about something else. I'm sure you know what it's going to be. So
I don't know what.
Maybe. I mean, we just talked about Diablo 4 for like half a second, so maybe I have to ask a little bit about Diablo 4 at the end of this chat.
Can ask me anything, man.
Awesome. So, end game so far. Obviously, there's a lot that can be altered. It's bare bones right now. They're the most basic of things, which obviously are going to come into the game, like a Waystone tab. Please grind your games. Waystone tab. I need it. I need it now. You should see my tab. Here's a great question. Do you organize your Waystones, or you just fling them in?
I don't know. I guess the answer would be both. We need the tab. I organize like the 14s and the 15s very specifically, because that's like how you actually play. The rest of them I just vomit into a giant quad tab. I'm starting quad tab number 2, and my patience for it is dwindling by the moment. I honestly think tomorrow I've had enough. I think I'm just gonna sell every single one that's like below T13. I'm like, sorry, like, I don't know. I've had enough of this.
Yeah, I feel like that's coming into the game pretty darn soon. It must have just not been ready for early access release. Again, because it's just a new mechanic that they've been building into the game. But
can I share a conspiracy theory with you that I got from chat?
Don't tell me they want you to buy more quad tabs. Is it?
Well, kind of like that, but not. you're on the right track.
Oh God, here we go.
Here's the conspiracy theory. They purposely did that. That way, people understand the importance of the tab, and it will raise the percentage of players who buy the tab.
Ooh, hey, that is an idea.
Big brain
It would be
plays.
very smart.
Big brain
But
play.
I think I can counter that. And here's why. If you hadn't done this, let's say you hadn't done this and you had just released the tab, anyone who didn't buy the tab in that situation
Would see
also
streamers.
immediately realize how unbelievably mandatory it is anyway. So I don't think that they have
Buy the tab.
introduced a new variable that should increase purchases. I don't think that's it, but that's the conspiracy theory that I keep hearing.
It is such a simple thing, though. It's crazy that they just don't have a T1 to T15 wavestones. You just slot them in just like maps. I don't know. It's pretty simple, dude.
Oh, it's
Possible
simple.
something's but you know what? You brought a conspiracy theory to the table. I've seen the same dude in chat spamming Ask Rax about the conspiracy theory with the corpses. Ask him. Don't be afraid. Why would I be afraid? Let's go into this. Rax, I ran a tower last night before bed. I took a screenshot of the corpses and I posted it to Twitter. And DM mocked me, said, "Oh, I just did this for 15 hours, dude. Don't even give it a go." Or yeah, you should totally give it a go. So what did I do this morning when I got up with my daughter and she went back to sleep? I went one screen away. First Citadel, right in the direction of the corpse. So I don't know. It seems confirmed to me. What do you think about the corpse theory?
So my background is in mathematics and stats. That's what I studied in college. So I think about this in a very specific way than other people would. My overall conclusion, I've heard a lot of conspiracy theories. The corpses only plug tablets with one mod, clear the corruption around it, follow the water. There's more. All of it is complete and utter nonsense. I think it's 100% confirmation bias. I think it's just random. That's I don't come to any other conclusion. I have ran so many maps. I have 4 characters above level 90. I founded 1 Citadel following every single conspiracy theory. I'm very much in DM's side where everything is a bunch of complete and utter nonsense.
I totally agree with you, man. It's so funny what people are doing to try to figure out where the citadels are. They need to add an arrow because people are going crazy, dude. Somebody on my Discord posted like a screenshot with like 12 different arrows going in all these different directions of what you're supposed to follow. It's just crazy.
When it was hot off the press, when I heard the corpse theory, I was doing a tower, and my chat was watching, okay? And then I walked up the stairs. I'm like, all right, let's look at the bodies. The bodies were pointing in every cardinal direction except left. I was just looking at chat. I was like, nice theory, guys. So you're saying if I go any direction except left, that I'm going to get a citadel, and guess what? I got absolutely nothing, so.
No, it's the mummified
It's
corpses.
that meme of the dude digging for diamonds, and he stops just before he finds the diamonds, man. You just got to clear one more screen, okay? Just one more screen.
One more
Behind
tower.
that screen, it's one more tower, okay, dude? What do you think they should do with towers? Because I feel like they must know that they're very repetitive. And I think if they add some extra mechanic, like a boss or something to them, it'd be something that people look forward to instead of something that people are just like, all right, another tower, let's go. Do it.
If I had to pick, if I was doing like a tier list and I was ranking something, and I remember how we talked about earlier how everything in the game is all right. You just need minor adjustments.
Yeah.
If I were to pick one thing, any facet of the game that is completely and totally wrong in every way that it exists, it would be towers. I think it's the most broken, worst thing in the game. Now, I completely agree with you. The goal should be you arrive at a tower, you're excited. That's never how it actually is. And it's actually everything you could think of about a tower doesn't work. First of all, it has a stagnant layout. It's always just these narrow hallways into rooms that are covered with the roofs that you can't even see where you're going. Like, okay, if you're running with your lightning arrow Deadeye Ranger and you're killing stuff like 3 screens ahead of you and you just don't care, that's fine. But what if you're playing like a warrior and they're like, huh, I have to actually think about before I go into that room and you can't even see and it's always that same map? I think that's a problem. The density is horrible. There are never any events. The entire second floor needs to be completely removed. The fact that you have to keep going to towers, click the stairs, walk around, walk across the thing, click the thing to finish the map, completely unacceptable. Everything about it doesn't work. Even the fact that you are incentivized to plug your lowest level map with no mods, just to run through it, just to plug the precursors. So the only thing for me that can stay with towers is the basic idea of it and the basic functionality of it. Of you path to it, and it's where you plug your precursor, and it gives you vision. The very, very base idea there is good with me. Like, people are calling for them to be removed. I don't think you need to remove them, but I do think you need to completely reimagine everything about how they're designed to come up with the final thing. Of you said, you need to make me excited to reach a tower, not dread it.
Yeah. I wish that Path of Exile 2 would implement some sort of boss rushing system, because I'm just wanting more of those boss fights, dude. It was such a shock to the system to go from the campaign to the end game, in which I think I've fought like 30 bosses so far, and then in the campaign, every zone was a cool boss fight. I want more of that. I wonder if, you know, the Maven's Crucible, maybe the towers could have a few different bosses that you fight in them instead. Like, they're just singular boss fights. You know, maybe it's 3 random bosses or 1v4 random boss. Something really cool, something random, something that you're like, ooh, what am I gonna get in this tower? Like, that'd be such a cool moment to go into that. Instead of right now, it's like that one unique map in Path of Exile 1, Pillars of Arun. I saw somebody compare the towers to running that map every time you want to use a sextant or something, which is rough, very rough. So,
Oh, I know that map. Yes, it's the
Didn't mean to cut you off.
map where you need to jump. Oh god, I know the pillars. Yes, I know the one.
To touch on exactly that, exactly what you described was the phenomenon that surprised me. It was like at least an early decision in the end game made by Grinding Gear Games, and I'm really surprised that they went for it. Grinding Gear Games in the ARPG space is good at making bosses. They're good at making really memorable encounters. They're really good about building the ladders up to the bosses. They're good about sneaking in. They're good about adjusting the difficulty of them. Like, some of them are pretty easy. Some of them are almost impossible. You're never going to beat them. They're talented in this space. In PoE 1, to beat a map, you had to beat a boss. It makes sense. I mean, we've been having this since Mario, right? You beat Bowser and you beat the map, right? It's been around forever. And then somehow Grinding Gear Games went from, nah, we're gonna put a boss here sometimes, but really all you have to do is kill the elites, and we'll show you where the elites are at some point after you've already walked 500 miles this way, and then you gotta walk 350 miles backwards to get this one elite that you missed. Some people really like that. Some people are like, God, I can't stand the bosses. I don't want a boss in every map, and that's fine, but the whole idea of it conceptually, to me, especially since Grinding Gear Games is good at making bosses, I don't know why they did that. I don't know why they moved away from what they were originally doing. If I were at Grinding Gear Games and they were suggesting that, I would have doubled down on, as you said, more bosses, because... And another thing about Path of Exile 2 versus Path of Exile 1 for me, when I'm farming in PoE 1, I'm expecting all of my loot to come from the map. I'm expecting, like, when I'm running around with my tornado shot ranger, I'm going to get all the divines in the map. In PoE 2, they've much more incentivized me to kill rares and bosses, and then you took out the boss out of the map? You just made me mad, man. Where are my bosses at?
especially because every time someone asks Jonathan, including myself, What's the best thing about Path of Exile 2? What are you most excited for? What are players going to most love about playing the game? Every single time, you would say the boss fights. And then you get out of the campaign and you don't fight any bosses. Come on, Grindy. There has to be a reason that they did this, and I just can't think of it. My very first map was Augury, and it's the lever map. I'm sure you already know that. And I had a shocking revelation. I was like, oh my god, I am in launch Diablo 4 right now. Every map better not be like this, where I have to, go pull these levers and then go find these monsters, and I have to go around in this big circle and then backtrack. This just happened with D4, and rightly so. Blizzard changed it. They completely changed that system. Big W from Blizzard.
Yes.
I hope that Grinding Gear Games learns from Blizzard with this initial implementation of some of the mapping systems. And if they're dead set on like making maps different, I think that's okay. I think they just really need to have a second go at the layouts and add some more objectives and make sure there's not so much backtracking and really everything to do with that initial endgame implementation. Besides the bosses, because I like fighting the bosses. I mean, we've got like Magic Find, we've got... Yeah, see, I feel like it's a lot of the systems in endgame. The endgame is very pretty. The endgame has a very good skeleton. I feel like it just needs a few extra building blocks on it to really turn it into something that I rated the endgame like a 5 out of 10. Campaign 10 out of 10. Endgame is 5 out of 10 for me. Biggest GGG shill there is, okay? Nobody is a bigger shill than I am. 5 out of 10. I just feel like there's a lot more to go, but they know that. So I feel like an ass for pointed out because I feel like they know. Like, they're really smart, like you said. They know how to make games. So, I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. But I'm really not worried about it at all. The end game is definitely the weakest point, and luckily, a lot of the player base probably isn't even there. They're probably still trudging their way through the campaign. It's not so easy. I'll tell you two things that I've never seen work in ARPGs ever. Never in any patch, never with any implementation. They're always almost universally hated by everybody. Now, in this first one, I'm talking specifically about the end game. Campaign can be different. When you're doing an end game in an ARPG, if you're gonna slow me down for no reason, everybody hates that. So, the pulling the levers slowly to open the door, that's fun in the campaign. One time, no problem. Do a different playthrough on a twin.
But 3 times!
We can suffer through it there. When you put it as a repeatable map, you can't do it. It doesn't work.
No.
Like you said, Blizzard had to completely change the whole thing. Now the fact that you pick up the pedestal, or you pick up the stone, you take it to the pedestal instantly, it's more fun to run Nightmare Dungeons than it was before.
Yeah.
The other thing that does not work at all, any implementation, everybody hates it, is when you put like traps in an ARPG. Traps can be fun, like in Zelda, when you're trying to figure out like a puzzle, like, oh, how do I open the water temple? And you're sitting there trying to figure it out. Or you're in Elden Ring and trying to find like a secret room, and how do I go do this? But whenever people, like for example, when I do the Trial of Sekimas, when I see that spinning fire thing, I'm just like, oh, why did I pick this room? I just want to do the room where I kill the guys that are standing by the portal, or I want to go do the chalice and just kill the 3 elites and just let me move on with my life.
I like
when
traps.
Diablo 4 tried the trap season, it was just hated. Everybody hated it. It's just like, oh. So, I hope that Grinding Gear Games, really all the developers, really take those things out and stop trying to implement them in ARPGs. Their time spent, rather than trying to, how do I take this idea that everyone hates and finally make it work? I think your time is much better spent doing other things and making other cool things. I think everyone's going to hate it no matter what.
Yeah. And they've shown they can innovate and keep innovating over and over. So just focus on those cool new ideas instead of trying to reinvent the wheel in a way that players will enjoy it. The evolution of Labyrinth is one example. And I know we've been going for a little over an hour now. You good to talk a little bit longer, Axe?
Sure.
Okay. Trials of Ascension. I know that people dislike them. I know it. It's very interesting debate, and I was so happy to hear you have a nuanced take on it. I think it's exactly what Grinding Your Games is thinking in their head. They want it to be tough. They want you to have to fight for your ascendancy. Lots of people do not want that in the game. How do you come to a common point here? Like, how do you come in the middle? But obviously they don't want to hand it to you. But lots of people really want it. It's like the lab, okay? Everybody was annoyed with the lab. The lab was just like,
I like lab.
Okay, here, we're doing the lab. Not that hard. It's just an extra thing we got to do. It was easy. It was just a thing on a checklist. I truly feel, especially with my last point, not so much my first three, but my last point, this is like a pinnacle encounter. This is very difficult. And I think you said it perfectly in your last video with GGG needs to figure out, do they want everybody to be able to get that last point? Or is this something they only want non-casuals or non-people who are really investing time in the game to be able to get? Really interesting question. I just wanted to talk about it a little bit more. What do you think is the right approach? I know in your video you were saying here's the ground, but what would you prefer if you had your way? Would you make it easier? Would you keep it the same? I'm curious.
Oh, it's a good question. Okay.
Yeah,
so,
I buried it deep in this video, so 80% of the people won't reach this point, so they'll never know what you're gonna say, Rax. Okay, that's fine.
That's okay. I mean, if we can't answer the hard questions, then what's the point? What's the point of being here? So the first thing that I would say is some of the things that really bother me about the way that it currently works is, and they've tried to adjust this. I'll give you an example. I failed. I have 2 fails on my 4th run, and they might not be to what you would think they were. I got to the 4th, not the 4th boss, but the 4th floor in one of the rooms. And one of the, the big skeleton, I don't know if they're skeletons or gold, they're really skinny, like big guys that raise it and then they slam.
Oh yeah.
So they hit my monk, not even the damage. My monk didn't die, but they hit me for 5,000 honor with honor res capped.
What?
I was at 75 honor res. They hit me for 5,000 honor. So when I see something like that, a huge part of my frustration is I don't think like the calculations are exactly right. So first of all, we need to make that, like, I can't take no damage, no damage, no damage, no damage, 5,000 honor worth of damage.
With resistance capped, that is insane. Yeah.
Another example. The major and the minor boons are horrifically miscalculated. As an example, floor one of the 4 things, I didn't even pigeonhole myself. I had 2 rooms that I could go to in the next room. Fine. Complete the room. I pick one of the 2. Okay. I go forward. I beat that room. And then whichever room I would have taken, actually of the 2, it was always leading to a singular room. And the room said, you remove your energy shield. I was playing Chaos Inoculation. I have 1 life.
Crazy,
So
man.
I actually had to reset on a minor what's it called, affliction? Minor affliction that was forced upon me from 2 different ways actually completely bricked my entire run. So, and then final example. I finally got to the 4th floor and I had to like make a decision, and it says your next minor boon turns into a major boon. I'm like, I don't even know what a major boon is. That sounds amazing. I pathed specifically to get a minor boon, and I read my major boon. I had 13,000 honor with my monk. It's the one that I failed. And I read my major boon. Every time you complete a room, you gain 40 honor.
How can I advise you? Go.
And I just sat there in bewilderment. The major boon is 40 honor per room completion. So, to go back to your original question, how do I think grinding your games should shift the difficulty? The first thing is I think they need to smooth out the process as it is before we could make an informed decision. If the major boons were actually major, if I don't get pigeonholed into a minor affliction that's remove armor or remove evasion or remove energy, that is a devastating, that the penalty is either completely devastating that you can't take it, or it's insignificant and you can do it. There really is hardly any in between unless you're doing some hybrid stuff, which I guess some builds do. We need so much more fine tuning before we can see if how the experience actually feels. And then to more directly answer your question, to not give you such a wishy-washy answer, I think one thing you have to consider when designing a game is what would the player expect? Now, the PoE veterans or the PoE 1 veterans are going to hate me even mentioning this, but what
Bring
would
back lab.
a more
Bring
casual
back
gamer
lab.
expect
Bring
out of
back
the game?
lab.
Would they expect to be able, within a season, to reach their 4th ascendancy? I think that they would. I don't think that they would necessarily think that they could beat T4 of any boss. I would probably expect them to think that they could find the 3 citadels and maybe beat the pinnacle boss round 1. But I do think completing your ascension will be a key piece in a lot of casual gamers' journey when they play these seasons. With the way that
usually,
it's
yes.
tuned, that's absolutely not what's going to happen. You need max honor resist, you need big honor charms, you have to play extremely well, you have to memorize boss mechanics, you have to have blink on your weapon swap or at least 30 movement speed after you get through the entire thing, you have to dodge the 5,000 hits, you have to dodge the no energy shield afflictions. I think the current iteration of it is too difficult for a launch for how the average person would expect their character's progression to be.
I think that's a very fair take. And I agree there's a lot of minor changes that needs to be made before a final decision on like how difficult it really is can be said, like all these bugs and odd interactions and the fact that minor afflictions take away all defenses. Those should be major afflictions. 100%. You should never randomly have that occur to a player. Like you said, you had the worst scenario, the chaos inoculation. Oh my gosh. That could be a quit moment for someone. They'd probably just be like, screw this game. I'm out of here. What is this? Seriously. So, and for the ultra casual player, I use my dad as the example because he is the ultra casual player, even though he's blasting very hard right now. I don't know what's overtaken him with PoE 2. But
it's Christmas break, man.
Dude, he's going. He's level 67 on his monk now. Holy and he has a level 30 warrior. He hated the warrior.
Man.
He has a level 32 ranger.
Dude, he's not a casual, man. He's blasting.
Dude, that's what I'm saying. Like, usually he's very, very casual. And he'll call me and be like, yeah, so I just killed a Triceratops. Reminded me of you, of your YouTube channel. I just killed him in the Trial of Chaos. Just ascended, got my 2nd ascendancy. And I'm like, what? But you just started your monk yesterday, Dad. What are you doing? He's like going. He's 60. But I still go back to him because I don't think he's going to be able to do the 4th floor. I hope he proves me wrong. Yeah. But because of all the things that you need to put together to overcome that challenge, to fully unlock your character, your direct character power, because it's not like in your gear. It's like tied directly to your class and everything. So to max out that character, to do that, you got to beat that 4th floor. I don't think he'll be able to do it. And I really hope he will be able to do it. And I hope they do make changes that allow people like that to do that. I agree with you on the T0 bosses, being able to kill them. I don't know if I'll be able to, hopefully. But with the RNG system, you just might not be able to. You've been blasting and you still haven't fought the pinnacle. See, that sucks.
I only have 1 citadel, and when you find a citadel, it's not even guaranteed that you have to find all 3 unique citadels. You can find iron, and if you fail in the citadel, it moves, it goes away. So you cannot fail, and you have to get all. It's not 3 citadels; it's the 3 unique citadels.
Right, true. And by the way, after we talk, I'm trying my 1st citadel. No, I don't have my 4th ascendancy. Okay.
So I I don't have any spoilers for you, but if I can give you a word of encouragement, no
Please.
spoilers. If you're doing T15 maps, I think you'll be able to do the Citadel. I wouldn't worry too much. I think you'll be able
And it's my favorite boss in the game, Count Geonor, the wolf. So
to. Oh yeah, the
so-
poetry.
the
Yeah.
poetry, man. They cooked so hard on that fight. I still think it's the peak fight in the game. I've done everything except the
Yep, Geonor is by far the best.
Zest fight, the breach boss, and the pinnacle. That is the peak fight in the game for me, hands down. Everything about
Yep.
it is perfect. The build up, the dialogue, the environment, the move set.
None
Him calling Oriana a whore.
You whore.
As he's
You
going, I love
manipulative
the
whore.
between the Act 1 boss where he's like, "You whore, how dare you betray me?" And then freaking Jamanra is like, "Get away, my love. I will save you." And he chops the caravan in half. He's like, "Get out of here. I hope I can say." It's so funny, the dichotomy between the two. Great.
Grinding games is good at making bosses. Man.
Oh,
It's-
yeah, dude.
It's an experience, really.
It is an experience, and we're about to experience quite a bit more in these next 6 to 12 months, man. So to round us out here, one more PoE2 question, then one D4 thing to close us out.
Okay.
Which class or mechanic are you really looking forward to derive in PoE2?
Through it, through it, through it, through it.
Any one thing that stands out to you in particular?
So I like a little bit of everything. So
Okay.
I'm going to play everything. I like everything. So again, really for me, like people say like, oh, Raxus says this because he's like cringe or whatever. It's like, no, it's actually true. The thing that would make me the happiest is if the community is happy. I want everyone to log in PoE and have a lot of fun. I think the demographic that feels the worst is melee. Like Monk is pretty strong, not really the Monk players, but a lot of the Warrior players, and I know Warrior gets there, of course. Everybody always says, no, when you invest 300 hours into your Warrior and you have 100 divine character, you can do 1 million DPS. What are you talking about? But that's like top 1%. The general playthrough of the Warrior is what I hear people are like the most dissatisfied with. So what I would be looking for grinding gear games is a little bit more of like melee love, especially because I think Preparing has some very nice videos about how armor was a big problem in PoE 1, same kind of problems, and like melee is not feeling like they're having the greatest time. So if that gets fixed, I think a lot of the other things already feel really good.
Okay. Yeah, I'm hoping for the Druid to come in, doing a little bit more than 17 damage. Maybe the Werebear slamming on the ground. You know, Werewolf, some melee attacks too.
Absolutely.
Would be really fun. I can't wait for that. I was disappointed in Diablo 4's Druid. I really wanted it to be fun. I didn't necessarily like it. I didn't like Last Epoch's Druid either, to be fair.
Oh
So
no.
I'm really hoping that
Last
Grinding
Epoch's
Games
Druid
nails
was
the
pretty
Druid in
awesome.
PoE2, because nothing has really scratched the itch like my childhood memory of playing Druid in Diablo 2. And that is
Hurricane
hard.
Tornado Druid, is that what you played?
Tornado Druid. I played. That was like the class that I played when I was a kid.
Oh yeah.
So I did
Oh,
like I was never like a hardcore grinder on the game. I wasn't a casual, but I was just playing the game. I wasn't racing. I was just like making my own stuff, trying to. Like, I remember one time we were driving to Florida when I was like 10 years old, and I downloaded Diablo 2 on laptop, and I was like, oh, okay, let's see how far I can get in this 23-hour road trip, right? And I made a skeleton necromancer, and I could not beat Duriel. Ah, God. Bashed my head against Duriel for hours as we're driving there, and I just couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. I was so mad at myself. It's okay. I made a druid while in Diablo, in Florida, and was able to down everything in the campaign. So, you know, as always, druid powerful. So.
Couldn't kill Duriel, but you have that long-lasting memory, and that's worth its weight in gold. That's worth more than killing.
100%. Yeah, I remember not cursing, but being very angry in the car as I just died over to Duriel.
Yeah,
it's a good fight. Oh, Duriel. Love Duriel in Diablo 2. Diablo 4. So just to close us out with this mainly PoE2 and food-centric interview.
sure.
Where do you think Diablo 4 goes from here. Obviously, the developers for Diablo 4, they've been playing PoE 2. They see a lot of the excitement around that game. Last Epoch has its next big update in April, so it's kind of slowed down a little bit. Really, the two real titans right now, obviously, are Diablo 4, and I would say PoE 2 just because of the raw number of people who have now been exposed to it. It's not nearly on the level of Diablo 4, but a lot of eyes are on it. What do you think Blizzard will take away from that, if anything? Because one of the things they've done best for so many decades is steal what other games do and do them better. One great example recently is Dragonflight with World of Warcraft. I don't know if you've played Guild Wars 2 before, but they have a mount, a flying mount called the Skyscale. Blizzard literally ripped the Skyscale and the Griffin from Guild Wars 2, implemented it in Dragonflight, and players were like, oh my god, this is the best mount ever. This is the greatest system of all time. And I've been playing Guild Wars 2 since 2012, and I'm like, bro, that's been in this game for so long, and it's actually really good. So, what do you think Blizzard could, not necessarily rip, but just use as inspiration from PoE 2, if anything at all, for their audience that they have in Diablo 4? Very long-winded question.
Okay, I'm going to answer it in two parts.
Go for it.
I'm going to tell you something that... So Path of Exile 2's endgame, as we've discussed so far, is not the strongest. It's not as strong as Path of Exile 1's endgame.
Mm-hmm.
So,
But it's still pretty good,
thing
though.
that PoE 2 is showing that we've been telling Blizzard and Diablo 4 would make the game better, that they just will not do. They have been very against it. Where it might actually open it up, the design area, is their skill system is too basic. Now, I understand why they do it, because their target demographic is that big slice of the pie, the very, very casual gamers. That's who they want to appeal to. And something like that does appeal to them. But Path of Exile 2, taking a little bit of a simpler approach from PoE 1, but being much more complicated than Diablo 4, people really love it. People really like the different combinations of the skills that they can make.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that Blizzard might finally look at it, and people really liked it in last Epoch as well, where everything had their own skill tree. They might actually sit down and say, okay, you want to know what? Actually, they're having so much fun with that, and it works in the campaign. We might actually need to make our skill twig a little bit more meaningful. But let me answer this a different way. If I'm being completely honest with you, and this is in no way me being pessimistic, I'm just telling you what I honestly think will happen.
Yeah.
I don't think Blizzard's going to change much of what they're doing, at least with Diablo 4. I think Diablo 4, in a lot of ways, probably didn't go the way that Blizzard wanted it to. Well, actually, we know that for a fact because they spent an entire year redoing almost every system that they had already built. And I think the main reason for that is internally, the team changed hands so many times.
BRB.
they don't have the vision necessarily that the cohesiveness that grinding gear games has, because it's always the same people with the same vision moving forward. When it changes hands 5 times, you get kind of like a little bit more of a mess. They spent a year fixing it, and Diablo 4, I think in a lot of ways kind of is what it is. And Diablo 4, it depends on how you would measure success, but you could say it's very successful because it sold a ton of copies and it makes a lot of money, which makes the shareholders happy.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that Diablo 4 is going to go under any huge changes here. You could say maybe for Diablo 5 they're going to do something a little bit different if there is going to be a Diablo 5. But the one takeaway that they've seen so far from PoE 2 is a little bit more complication with building your character. Works very well for all parties. But what I think will literally happen is almost no changes based upon what we've seen.
I do think that's, once again, a reasonable take. Here's something I keep bringing him up, because he played a lot of Diablo 4, way more than I did. My dad said Diablo 4 was harder than Path of Exile 2. But my dad also does like to fiddle with things, and he's been able to do that a lot with PoE 2. Like, it gives him that room to try to build onto something and cobble something together that's very powerful. Whereas then I think like Diablo 4, that wasn't necessarily implicit in the system. Like you said, the skill tree isn't as deep
Skill
as the
twig.
system in PoE 2, and where I think a lot of the power seems to come from is like, and I haven't played a lot of Diablo 4, I've just watched videos on it mostly, is the combinations with like the legendary items and certain affixes on those, and that really skyrockets your power.
Yeah.
And for someone like my dad, and I think a lot of other people are interested in items, right? But then those base systems that interact with your character, like skills, they're just so universal, and being able to build up your power with them is something that I think a lot of people enjoy, and having many options within that also gives people a lot of enjoyment and satisfaction when he figures something out that works. Like, the most simple thing is literally, I think Frosty LaRue did this in his very first video that blew up. The fireball example. Just like, oh, what can I do with a fireball? Oh, I can do 2 things. Okay, great, cool. And the Last Epoch, you can do all these other things. And then Path of Exile, you can do all these other things with fire. And it's so cool when you find that combination. It truly just clicks. It makes you feel smart, it makes you feel powerful, and it makes you want to find that next combination in the game that'll make you feel that way too. So yeah, it's very curious. I want D4 to do as well. I know people like trash on it in the Path of Exile community, but I think a lot of people would want to have fun playing it. I think people just like playing games. I don't think that, maybe some people are like, oh, Blizzard, don't want to support Blizzard. But if the game was fun, I think a lot more people would play the game, you know, if they enjoyed the game, right?
Yeah, I think I had the same feeling that you do. I can understand why, like, let's take Blizzard as the example here. I could understand a reason why people would root against them. Maybe it's nostalgia. Oh, when I grew up, Blizzard was the king and Diablo 2 was the best, and now look at them. Or maybe they feel literally burned by them. Like, I paid $70 pre-order, I expected this and I didn't get it. So there are some reasons, like some genuine reasons why people feel cheated and are actively rooting against them. But I don't feel that way because, like you said, I just like to play video games. And I like grinding your games. I like 11th Hour Game. I like Blizzard. I like XD making Torchlight. I think Path of Exile 2 showing us their new version and having such a great early access just promotes competition, gets the wheels turning, and I hope it just pushes the other gaming companies just to make better games. So I don't know, man. I don't subscribe to this tribalism of I love this one and I hate this one, and let's band together and talk shit about this particular company or game. Bro, if you don't like a particular game, just don't play it and play the other one. It's all right.
Someone linked a video to me of a tiny content creator. I don't know if it was bait. Maybe it was bait. but they posted a video and they linked it in my Discord, so I was like, okay, I'll give it a chance. I click on it, and it's somebody raging against PoE 2 after playing it for 300 hours. And I'm like, saying they hated it. They hated the game. I don't know what makes people do this with ARPGs, but a lot of people like love to hate play ARP. I don't get it. If you don't like, just don't play it. Play something else that is enjoyable, like gaming. That is what it's entertainment at the end of the day. Like, you don't need to insert a whole bunch of drama into it. You don't need to play anything. You should do it as like a leisure thing, right? And if you're not enjoying it, don't force yourself to play it. You know, we've got like Diablo 2 Resurrected, which is from 20 years ago. People are still loving to play that. If that's what you really are yearning for and missing, go play that. It's fine. It's your life, your time. You don't need to play the newest, greatest thing just because it's new and great, and many other people seem to love it, right? Just do you. Seriously.
I mean, the analogy is exactly that. The analogy that I give is I don't like golf. I don't like to play golf. I don't like to watch golf. So you wanna know what I do? I don't play golf, and I don't watch golf. I don't go to golf forums. I don't watch golf YouTube channels. I just don't interact with it. People love it. That's fine. Awesome. I love that you love golf. I love that I don't love golf. It's okay. But it's weird. People say, well, no, Rax, it's not that simple. No, it is that simple. Like, if you hate Diablo 4, why do you come to Diablo 4 and say how much you hate it? If you hate Path of Exile 2, why do you come around and say how much you hate it? It is that simple. Why do you do that? I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me.
It's a great analogy, man. And this has been a great talk. Thank you so much, Rax, for coming onto the channel. I really, really appreciate it. Is there any final words you have about like Path of Exile 2 or to the community as my mic arm begins to fall on me for some odd reason? I don't know what's going on here. There we go.
It's a perfect time to end if the equipment is failing, but I do want to let you know I have heard from a lot of different sources that people do consider you a pillar of the Path of Exile community. I know that it's very important to you. I know that the game and the channel and everything that goes on with it is super important to you, and that shows in the work that you put forward, man. So just keep doing what you're doing, man, and a lot of people really respect you and like you for that. You're doing a great job.
Thanks so much. Don't make me blush. Oh gosh, I got the lights red on my face, dude. Okay, I don't have a red shirt that can hide it. Come on. I was wearing the blue.
Kill the lights.
I was trying to wear the blue, but I was like, oh dang, I should have worn the red. But you know, they're playing right now. Hopefully they're winning. I don't know. Don't spoil me, chat. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it. Like I said at the top, I've been watching you since Diablo 4 launched, and I watched like all your D3 videos when I really didn't play the game. So I really appreciate that that you shared that with me, and I hope we can talk sometime in the future again about PoE 2, D4, whatever, man. It was.
I hope we hit it on
great...
a +7. More destruction. Fixation of the Yix. Let me guess, there's a million of these on the market because everybody's gambling. We got baited. Oh my god, that's a double bait. Are you serious? I just got a fucking heart attack. Alright, we're doing these 3 in a row. Ah! Chat, round of applause. I just made a hardcore SSF player. I think in a few years, we're gonna come back here. He's gonna be the #1 racer beating Ben. And then he will tell his story, how he started playing SSF because he got scammed by me. And my bad RNG. I hope we hit it on a +7.
Food, Chipotle, ranking of some sort, the lore. I mean, there's a lot of different topics. This was a very chill chat, man.
I'm always around, man. I'm looking forward to it. Whenever you want to chat, send me a message. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, sounds good. This is going to be the cutoff for YouTube. Thank you all so much for watching. Make sure if you haven't already, we're an hour and a half in. Like the video if you liked it, and subscribe to the channel, and go check out Rax on YouTube or Twitch. Thank you all so much for watching. Alakir. All right, thank you, Rax. I really appreciate it, man. That was a lot of fun.
great night, man. I'm gonna run because Sarah wants Chick-fil-A and they're closing soon. If I don't get it
shoot,
to her,
go,
she's
go.
never gonna forgive me.
Dude, go. Yeah, go for it. Have fun. Enjoy your food. Bye.
It was a pleasure. Thank you, man.
100%. See ya. W or L, chat? I already know the answer. That was a hell of a lot of fun. I couldn't stop grinning. I literally could not stop grinning. I was having grinning problems. Oh, I gotta stand up.
I must travel light.
Diablo 4 chat is an L. I had to ask about Diablo 4. Thanks, Orax, for coming on.
You finally caught my attention.
Oh, Starcross Music, thank you so much for the sub, and thank you everyone who followed during that stream. Everyone from Rax's channel, thanks for tuning in.
I don't even know how to introduce this video. So, Sam Hyde is traditionally a funny Joker guy, edgy comedy. Some people think he's like a white supremacist. Other people just think it's a joke. Very, very controversial figure. And he literally put on a suit. He's putting on his serious pants. A lot of people want me to watch this. I've been told that it's stream appropriate because everything else that's like bad has been like bleeped out and cut out.
Glad I caught you.
Oh.
Glad I got you there.
Message for Elon. Oh.
Musk. By the way, please don't watch this if you're not Elon Musk, okay?
Okay.
This is a one-off video that we're doing. This is private.
Yeah.
Personal. I put this in his email. I don't know how you got this. Unless you're on the Asmongold Discord server.
What?
In which case, you know my every move, okay? Me and
Do you guys talk about this a lot on Disc? Is this true? You guys, I had no idea. Oh, wow. Holy shit.
in Asmongold have been planning this for a while.
Wait,
Me and
what?
Asmongold Discord server.
Wait, what?
In which case, you know my every move, okay? Me and Asmongold have been planning this for a while now. Moist Critical's involved.
I didn't know that. I did this? All right, there you go, guys.
And, yeah, I guess if you're on the Moist Critical Discord server, you would have access to this file. So kudos to you, hacker. I don't think Elon's going to watch this. And, listen, I know as a comedian...
He will watch this. I can almost guarantee you that he will see this.
And first and foremost, I don't expect people to take me seriously. But
Yeah. He probably
it is a
already
fact
has. Yeah.
that shit posting and public opinion are now intermingled permanently, and it's not going anywhere. And that's just the way it is. I get all my
That's
news
right.
from memes, basically. That's how I get my news. Is that how you get your news?
I do too. You can't trust any news. So the only way you can get news is through people who don't care about news. Because they're the ones that don't have an incentive to misrepresent it.
News? How would you even get the news if you weren't looking at memes? You'd watch a show? That's even more fucking retarded.
He bore the mark of corruption.
We turn that off. It's a smart thermostat, so it's going to take 15 minutes to figure out how that fucking thing works. It's very intuitive.
We
I
have
don't
the
know
same thing
why
happen
the Nest
with the podcast.
thermostat is taking you so long to learn and intuit. Okay, a toddler could figure this out. A toddler on an iPad could figure out how to use the Nest thermostat. That's Chris Lynch, by the way, Elon. Do not hire him, okay? He's leaving this job very soon. See, he's white. He's too lazy. Chris, you're so lazy and white. Well, yeah. You guys should have studied
Damn, they started it
violin
off
harder
real
as
quick.
kids.
Okay.
I swear to God, Vivek would have figured this out by now. I want to believe that Elon is one of the great men of our age, and that he has what it takes to become a 21st century Andrew Carnegie. I think it's important to have...
It's obvious that, you know, Elon is extremely influential.
Her mind
I mean, I think people like to downplay it.
to hold on.
He's like one of the richest people, if not the richest person in the world, of like all time. And if he's not number one, he's in the top 5. Extremely influential. Yeah, I mean, let's be real, right?
Great men to look up to. Trump, Joe Rogan. Oh, there it goes.
Yeah.
Elon, Tucker. And it's not necessarily important that our great men are perfect, but they're symbols of what we could be. I think if Ron Paul took steroids, he would be my number one. That would be my number one guy. You agree? Yeah.
I still have a Ron Paul campaign poster, or a campaign sign from 2008.
I would like to offer you an escape.
Yeah.
An exit from this hole you've been digging. You are a beloved figure. Anytime you do anything remotely based, people lose it. Oh my God, he's based! Yo! He just said that woke liberals aren't cool. He's based. What does he say? Yeah, anytime you post an AI kitten in a MAGA hat, people lose their. He's based!
Out of mana.
I do think this is true, where like so many people, they're looking to like get validated for what their opinions are. So anytime that any person with any sort of influence says something that validates them, they lose their fucking minds.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
For the guy who's the free speech guy. And not only that, but the reasoning from first principles guy,
Yeah.
the logical fallacy guy, the Reddit guy, good faith arguer with everybody, you know, whatever. All that shit. Blanket banning groypers, taking away blue checks, changing the algorithm.
People might not know, groypers are people that are fans generally of Nick Fuentes and are part of the America First movement. A lot of people think they're racist. A good amount of them are, maybe not every single one, but that's what it is. Yeah, in case people don't know.
Of the site.
They are. I don't want to, guys. I don't want to argue and fight with people about this. I'm just explaining who they are so everybody knows. If you like them, great. If you don't, that's nice. But that's what it is.
100 people ratioed you because there's fucking 50,000 posts.
Yeah.
They're all organic, by the way. This is not some Russian bot farm. It's not some nefarious behind the scenes. Let's mess with Elon. We're gonna fuck with him. That's not.
I don't think that it's really. It's not surprising that a bunch of people from a country feel like the country isn't prioritizing their needs, and then they're getting mad and freaking out over it. I mean, there's examples of like Chinese people doing this to like foreign people. There's examples of Japanese doing this, examples everywhere around the world of people doing this. Of course, it's going to happen in the U.S. as well. Yeah, it's only natural. Yeah, of course.
What it is. It's you tapped into a critical, moist critical. You tapped into a moist critical, and we're back to moist critical. Mainline concern for the American people. And you treated it in a way that was glib and dismissive. You just became a Republican 3 months ago. You're talking about removing a big portion of regular people, root and stem. No. People fucking love you. They will forgive you. Nobody is trying to get you to become turbo, base-pilled, full Pat Buchanan immigration policy. People...
They are, but yeah.
We understand that you are a San Francisco, tech, California, international immigrant. Well, if you want to be a regular tech guy, that's fine. You can do that. You can be Larry Ellison. You can go play on the boat. Nobody's going to give a fuck. Realize what you're fighting for. If you're going to be the tech king, if you've courted the MAGA base, you wanted these people on your side. They're ready to be on your side. But you have to fight not for Ben Shapiro's idea of the country of America, the notion of America as this collection of ideas. That's not what it is. It's Americans. That's who you have to fight for. If you're in America, doing business in America, you want to be the man in America, you have to fight for the American people. You're not fighting for a paragraph. You're not fighting for a set of ideas, man. It's the American people who need your help. That's fundamentally what...
He's right. He's completely right about this. Yep, absolutely.
Why I think people are pissed off here. And it's an easy fix. Just don't call them retards. Elon, have you met Chris? He's on Asmongold. He's streaming all the time. He's playing his games and stuff. He's amazing what the kid does with video games. I can't believe it. People didn't suddenly have a flare-up of India hate.
What did I do to deserve that? Yeah, he's on. Who's Chris?
The Indian hate websites for a while.
All right, let me go back.
With video games, I can't believe it. People didn't suddenly have a flare-up of India hate. I've been monitoring the Indian hate web.
I think that there are a lot of people that don't like Indians, and they think that India is gross, and they don't like the country. I think there's a huge amount of people that are like that. But that's the same with people with any country. I mean, there's no country in the world that there aren't a bunch of negative stereotypes that people would talk about. It's just how it is.
For a while, it's actually set to my homepage. I've been checking these websites out. I watch what these people do. There were very few overt Indian haters spewing their nonsensical filth everywhere 72 hours ago. What happened? Okay, 72 hours ago.
I'm not sure if I would agree with that. I think that there's been a massive uptick in Indian negativity, and I think it's been happening in the last 6 months to a year or so. Am I crazy? Because I feel like it's been happening a lot. Now, this dialed it up to 11. Definitely that's true. But, like, I remember Mudahar talked about it, and then after Apu, well, I'm not sure about that. For the past year, yeah, I think there's been a lot of it. Yeah, Barry Stanton, remember him? Oh, there it is. It bled over from Canada. I don't, yeah, apparently, right? But that's it. It's because of crypto culture. There's tons of memes about Indian employees. Yeah, right? Well, like, either way, like, I've seen so many photos of, like, people saying, oh, open up Google Maps. Anywhere you go on Google Maps in India, you can see a picture of, like, you can see garbage in it, right? Like, this has been going on for longer than 3 days. It's been going on for a while. And this is coming from somebody, I'd like to go to India, right? Like, I think India is cool, right? I mean, but sure, of course people are going to have bad things to say. They're going to have bad things to say about anyone. It's true, though. You should try it.
Most people in the MAGA base looked at Vivek Ramaswamy with some notion of admiration, or hey, that guy says cool stuff every once in a while. Hey, you know what? I think I like
people
that
like
guy.
him. Yeah.
Now he's got to be deported. Sucks, man. And he's not being deported because of the color of his skin. He's being deported for the content of his character. And I think that there is a lot of authentic, genuine racial anxiety that exists inside of, like, the Trump base. And I feel like it's almost like it's like an elephant in the room that nobody's willing to address. But I do think that it exists. And I think that if Vivek was the same type of person and he was just your generic everyday white guy, I think he probably would have gotten better poll numbers. So I do think it's a factor. I absolutely do. But it's not the only factor. Vivek's American?
Oh, not this again.
I'm not arguing for racism. I'm arguing that people are racist. Like, that's the point that I'm making. It's two separate things. You don't need to convince me of this. We're discussing a type of thinking. I'm not arguing a point of view.
Truly was a mask-off moment where we saw that Vivek Ramaswamy really is just a fucking nerd who needs to go back.
Here's the thing. I actually think Vivek was right about everything he said. I think he was totally right. But the difference is that when you criticize a culture that people perceive you not being a part of, everybody gets super defensive. That's like why, for example, it's okay to make racial jokes about the group that you're a part of. But when people make racial jokes about a group that they're not part of, it's seen as problematic. It's kind of like a implicit understanding.
Who would say anything about culture?
It's different. I
Yeah,
think it's everybody
exactly.
spurgs out. I'm spurging out right now. I'm gonna spurg out later. Okay. On Chris, Lynch, and also Indians do cool stuff every once in a while. They got the chest slapping wrestling. You guys watch that action movies? He's shooting a bullet out of the air with a gun. He's flipping over the tuk-tuk. Indian clubs, shoulder rehab, exercise, fantastic. The hate. It's irrational hate.
Are these Bollywood movies? I feel like they basically just take anime and they just have real people do it. I mean, it's like if people were in... it's crazy. It's basically... Bollywood's like anime. Yeah, it's anime with real people.
It's just racism. It's just a nonsensical racism. The hate and racism and anti-Indian sentiment, it's there to the extent that Indians are being used to replace white people.
He's right.
That's it.
Yep.
We have to stop playing pretend.
That's exactly it.
Not talking about exceptional Indians here. And that's why this is sort of spreading like wildfire. People sharing these H-1B lists of what the jobs are. You are not in Calcutta scouting for the next Indian Einstein. You're not. We have to make it to outer space and invent new computers. Let's get to India and get the next Nikola Tesla. That's not what's happening. We're talking about people at fucking gas stations. You bring them over, you put them in a fucking gas station, and then we'll go around all the gas stations in the USA and find the next genius. Well, what if he's not in India? What if he's working at a gas station in North Carolina? He might be there.
I've seen this before too. So like what he's referring to is there were a lot of people that like after the H-1B visa like controversy happened, a lot of people started linking like pictures of people that either had the visas or people that were like looking to have the positions filled by people with the visas. And a lot of the positions were just like average American jobs, and they weren't like, you know, high-end systems data analysis at like Meta. So that's what he's talking about.
Why don't we bring everybody here, and then we can look for everybody?
Yeah.
That's actually a fucking genius idea. We bring fucking everybody here, and then, like a needle in a haystack, we find the one man who can invent electrical computer.
Oh.
That sounds fucking retarded, and it's not true. You have to at least say that the H-1B program is being scammed. If you don't admit that, then as far as like any type of discussion that goes anywhere is concerned, it's over.
He's right. He's completely right. You can't tell people that you have a program that's for exceptional people, and then people find job listings for being a cashier. You just can't do like that. Whether you agree with it or not, it's just not going to sell. Like it or not, he's saying what people won't because of fear of cancellation. Yeah, I mean, I said this myself. I mean, I try to be the same, right? And so, yeah, maybe being a cashier is exceptional. Sure, right? And I'm sure there are exceptional cashiers, but there's a lot of them here. The idea is that these visas are there as a means to solve job vacancies that could not be solved otherwise.
It's over. This is a direct quote from Moist Critical himself. I'm speaking on his behalf.
Oh,
He was
wow.
too busy streaming Marvel Rivals to talk to you. So I'm here on his behalf, giving you opinions that he approves.
So what did Charlie say?
Nobody's expecting you to go full Steve Bannon here. You're a tech bro. We get it. Immigrant. But if you are on Team America, and by Team America, I don't mean
World Police.
Ben Shapiro's collection of ideas. America's not a collection.
I do think that Ben Shapiro brand of conservatism is dying out. I do think so.
Of ideas. America is a people. Americans. If you are Team America, then the most prominent talking points need to be the immediate...
Yeah, he's completely right. The people that are here, and this is the reason why I think Trump won with a lot of minorities too, is that Trump prioritized people in America. And like, even if you're like a third generation immigrant or like second generation immigrant, you are a US citizen and you want your best interest being advocated for over somebody else who's not in the country. Like, in my opinion, I think that because we pay taxes, the government has like a moral or ethical obligation to work in our best interest. I don't think that it's a moral or ethical thing to do to like take by threat of force taxes from people and then use that money to benefit people that are not part of that group. Just on a super, super fundamental level. And I think that's why Trump won with a lot of those groups. It's because those groups feel like he is advocating for them directly. And like, it's really not that big of a surprise though, right? People want somebody who's going to advocate for their best interests. Like, how do we need, is this really profound to say? It's not, it's common sense.
Deportation of illegals, and need to be the immediate deportation of illegals and the end of the abuse of the American worker by programs like this H-1B, the gamification of stuff like this that's set up to benefit people who aren't us. Nobody wants to...
Exactly. Yeah, if you want people in America to like you, you have to work in Americans' best interest. Yeah. Like, basically, and this is the issue, is that if you make an argument and you say that, for example, the economics of the GDP going up means the economy is good. This is a theoretical, abstract idea. But when a person can't get a job on an individual personal level, Maslow's hierarchy of needs says that they're going to care about that a whole lot more. And the fact is that you can't use these abstractions of like a big...
BRB. I'm back.
Fucking economy and, oh, this is going to be better for the economy in the long term. Why would these people care about the economy in the long term if they can't afford food today? There's no reason. Don't fuck my money? Yeah, exactly. And so, like, that's all they're going to care about. So the idea that, like, oh, well, the economy is getting bigger or better, it's not really relevant. So many Americans don't do that themselves, and their existence is a burden to the country and society. You're right. You're absolutely right. A lot of Americans are useless, fat, retarded morons that would be better if they were converted into food. That's definitely true. But their family might not be. And their parents might not have been. And their grandparents might not have been. And all those people paid into the system, paid their taxes for that system to look out for the best interest of this person who would be better suited being Soylent Green.
I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it, but cheers.
That's it.
To solve the Japanese birth rate problem by turning...
I feel like I made both sides really mad with that, right? Didn't I? I think that's like pretty much the worst way for me to have said this, right? Hopefully.
Japan into India. That's preposterous. That only would work in a computer simulation.
What is this here? Sorry.
Nobody wants to solve the Japanese birth rate problem by turning Japan into India. That's preposterous.
I've actually heard a lot of people discussing things like that immigration would be the solution. Same with Korea.
That only would work in a computer simulation where you can just change the code and make a Japanese person. I've tried it. It can't be done.
He can't be Japanese.
Okay, where Asmongold is right now, down in the basement. I have tried over 150 times to turn an Indian into a Japanese man. And the only thing I was able to accomplish was boiling them. All right?
You should have just gone to a chat room.
If you think Elon, or Asmongold if you're watching this,
Take a punt. You know you want to.
What the fuck? How am I one of these people that's Jesus!
If you think you can turn an Indian person into a Japanese person by boiling them, not going to happen, okay?
Unlikely.
Go down to my basement and talk to the 150 Indians that I already tried that on. Doesn't work.
Okay.
Nobody wants to solve the American...
The average sample size for an experiment done on people would be actually 1,000, so he's only 10% of the way there. That's generally the accepted
problem. What's going to happen? We're going to run out of people. Oh, the stock prices are going to go down. Oh! That's a problem for the All-In podcast to figure out. David Sachs.
Nobody cares about stock prices. They're too abstract.
Sachs of what? Sachs of gold? Just start calling yourself David Sachs of gold. What's the other guy? Jason Sachs? Asmongold? Asmongold.
Okay.
David Sachs changed his name to Asmongold. The branding is already set up for you.
You gotta steal my fucking name.
You can replace his body and become the top.
Wait, what?
Gold. David Saxton changed his name to Asmongold. The branding is already set up for you. Asmongold wants to himself. You can replace his body and become the top streamer in America. I shouldn't say Asmongold wants to himself. I love Asmongold. That guy's classic. He's the ultimate. He's the best streamer.
For sure. For sure.
I think he's good.
Yeah.
I've never watched him.
Oh my fucking god.
This dude is hilarious.
Oh my god. Wow.
What the fuck?
Maybe saw the reacts. To fix the American birth rate problem by turning America into India are fuckers. People are not interchangeable economic units. If they're not more than that, then that's just an extension of antinatalism. That's just nihilism. That's just people don't matter. Neil deGrasse Tyson, the universe doesn't care. Shit. The universe cares. That's why we're here. It's understandable.
Well, I think that it's the abstractions and like large numbers of like billions of dollars and like revenue or something like that for a company. They're relevant to people who are running companies, but most people aren't running companies. So you can't make an argument to an average person that the reason why you need to do this and potentially put yourself in a disadvantageous position is so my number will go up. Because they don't care about your number, they care about their number. And even if you try to make the argument their number is your number, it's too abstract, and it's also generally not true. I think that a lot of people nowadays feel like, okay, yeah, like every single time that we have a recession recovery, 90-something% of the recovery amount goes to the top 1% of people. So, you know, there's not this sense of camaraderie there anymore. It doesn't exist. Sorry, but a lot of your generation thinks this country will run on fumes forever after throwing out all of our conservative values. I think that labeling values as being conservative or liberal is generally not a good way of looking at it. I try not to do that a whole lot. I mean, obviously, like, we talk about it in that context sometimes because that's the way a lot of people discuss it. But that's not really the best way to look at things. That's my opinion.
Why a computer guy, why an engineer would think that or would want to think that, because it would make solving problems so much easier. We have hardwired group preferences. We have genetic memory. We have
own group preference. I think that is the term in psychology that he's referring to. If you want to look up any sort of variable for that. Like an example of this is that my understanding is that, let me see if I can just find this real quick. I was going to say something incredibly sexist, and I just wanted to make sure that I was right. Women's in-group biases, women are almost 5 times more likely to have a bias towards other women than men are to other men. That's just simply one example of it. And we know this.
Culture. This is not
I was complaining to my mom about my girlfriend, and she starts agreeing with my fucking girlfriend. What the fuck?
It's so
like
deeply
5 years ago.
Embedded in us that it carries on for thousands of years. Thinking of people as interchangeable
right. Yes, she was.
units, while it would be useful in a
yeah, she was.
theorem, it's
Hold up.
their humanity. And by the way, it's one of the first steps towards any authoritarian dictatorship type system. It's one of the first steps towards Marxism. Is thinking of people as just labor. It's a very gross, anti-human thing to think.
This is what I was saying before. This is just basically another shade of the same thing that I was saying about how when you take a group of people and you stereotype them and then you take that stereotype and you distill it down to an individual, you're dehumanizing them, fundamentally. I think that he brings up a good point, is that when you're discussing like economies of scale, this is dehumanizing to individual people who bear a negative reaction to that economy shift.
To appeal to the Redditor in you, that's middle brain shit. Stupid people at the bottom of the spectrum know that everybody is special. Everybody's special. Everybody's different. And
everybody is special, but some people are more special than others.
Own thing. Retards know this. Geniuses understand that everybody is
the same
unique product by and for their zeitgeist, or Zeitgeist if you want to go with the moist critical pronunciation.
Does he say it like that?
Everybody is uniquely a product of their time and location and has their place in space and time. The smart people know this, the stupid people know this. It's people in the middle with 110 IQ, which is the worst IQ to have.
Interesting.
Think that people can just be pushed around and moved around and changed.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not gonna, He's actually, yes, this is so accurate. He's spitting? He is, yeah.
They can't. There's no hate towards Hispanics, okay? But that's why the room that I'm sitting in is covered in dust, is because the general contractor I hired used Hispanic labor. I didn't know. They laid down masonry cement. When I said I wanted polished concrete floors, masonry cement, you can't polish it. They left board marks and footprints in it. And I had to pay another crew of black people, okay, shout out to Greg, to come in here with jackhammers.
Black people, shout out to Greg.
God damn.
Oh, God.
This dude is fucking hilarious.
And get this shit dumpstered out.
W. Greg, yeah.
I went and hired my own blacks. I went in the ghetto and hired them by hand. That's how you need to hire blacks for SpaceX. And what you get is you get lower quality construction. You get lower wages for the blue collar workers.
Well, it logically makes sense though, right? If it's a person who is primarily focused on making the job, finishing a job and doing a job with the cheapest amount of money spent, they are probably also going to enlist illegal immigrants to help. And in the process of enlisting illegal immigrants to help, this probably is an indicator of their general attention to detail and how much they care about doing a good job. It's basically like them not giving a shit about the quality of their employees is also probably indicative of them not giving a shit of the quality of their work. It just logically makes sense.
Waste away. Back to the soil.
Who are here and fighting. You realize that people are fucking up against a wall, fighting to make ends meet? Do you understand that the American people are on the ropes right now? Your people are.
Well, this not you look.
This has a history of its own.
Interesting. Might be good for Monk.
Nearly half Americans say they live paycheck to paycheck. It's bad. Oh, it's real bad. Nearly 80% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. 76%, 66%. It seems like these numbers just keep going up. Nearly half, yeah. And a lot of these people are younger. With no savings, yeah. Now, I bet a lot of the Luigi fans are part of that 66, 72, or 80%. I wonder why.
Not the world, okay? It's the American people. That's where this shit is popping off. That's where you came to do business. The American people are your problem now.
Yeah.
To the extent that you want people to pay attention to your opinion. And by people, I mean actual people. Not Patrick Bet-David, not Ian Miles Chong, Scott Adams, not these fucking faggots that'll walk around sucking your ass because you have money and because you made an electric car.
Well, Scott Adams has had a lot, like, he's the Dilbert guy. And, yeah, he's had a lot of opinions.
But to the extent that you want that, you have to protect the American people.
Yeah.
You're all about being pro-natalism and increasing the birth rate. Why is the average dude gonna want to have kids when he can barely afford to live by himself and eat Dominoes? Hey.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good way to say it, isn't it? Yeah, in this economy. No, he's right. He's absolutely right about that. Let me think of some like parallels for this. I think that the really bad thing about that is that it encourages unconscientious reproduction. So it's literally, this is the plot of Idiocracy, is that people who are conscientious about their finances and that are shrewd and they like planning ahead, they might
don't
not have
reproduce,
a kid, right? Or
yeah.
whatever. Maybe they have 1 or 2 kids. But somebody who's just, you know, I got 7 kids, they got 5 baby mamas, it is what it is. Well, those people, they reproduce like crazy. And guess what? They're going to have a lot of bad situations. Yeah, just getting it, yeah. Pop them out, 18 kids, yep.
Why isn't China importing Infinity Indians right now?
Are they?
If it's such a huge economic advantage, why isn't China doing it?
Infinity
A
Indians.
naval blockade of China to make sure they don't get any of these amazing Indians.
That's what I thought.
Naval blockade.
Okay. This was a joke.
Yes, of course they're.
Yeah, that is a joke. You can't do that.
Every Indian that makes his way into China is a threat because China will use their genius to get one over on us. That's the biggest threat this country's facing right. I think we need to go nuclear.
I think that there actually are cultural differences between different groups of people, and those cultural differences produce different types of people with different types of interests and strengths, on average. Like, no shit. No, I'm just being honest, right? I mean, it does. And so, like, I think that there are elements of, like, Chinese or American culture or, like, Indian culture, anything. Some are good, some are bad.
I think we need to say, if China imports enough Indians, it's like diamonds. It's like nanotechnology. Indians are like nanotechnology. We have to be willing to use nuclear weapons to keep China from getting these precious Indians. That's step one. Sounds retarded, right? Because it is.
Yeah.
It's retarded. It's subtarded. Ever hear of a subtard? By the way, Moist Critical coined that term, subtard. Competing with China in
What does subtard mean? Is this like the new, like, you can't, people don't want you to say retard, so you just come up with another word that's like it? More than worse, so they're like, they're not retarded, they're like sub, like underneath, but I get it, okay.
sense. GDP, making a number go up, having software companies that are valued more highly, competing with China in what sense? And at what cost? If the cost is making America look like Calcutta, that's not worth it. That's not a price that we're willing to pay. People keep posting these aerial drone display
I think that he's right about that.
videos of drones shaped like a dragon. And correct me if I'm wrong, that's something that a bright high schooler could do on a smaller scale, is it not? Making
Yeah, it probably is. Yeah, you probably figure this out if you're like 16. It looks cool.
drones move around in 3D space. How is that an impressive problem to anybody except boneheads who are mystified by drones in the first place? Look at this.
He's right. It's cool looking, yeah, but it's not.
Wow. It's a ballet of killer drones. How can we compete with that? That's what drones do. They move around in coordinate space. Who gives a fuck? It's the low-hanging fruit of robotics that mystifies people.
Well, yeah, because they can't perceive the high-hanging fruit, obviously. This is what I was saying before. You know, you have Occam's razor. I look at it, I say it's retard's razor. The dumbest answer is the correct answer. Think of the stupidest reason possible for why something is happening. That's why it's happening.
Maybe I'm wrong. Didn't we have more impressive shit in the 80s?
Yeah.
Isn't this more impressive?
One. Cover.
What's this?
With no pilot to compromise performance, even more unusual craft.
Is this more like fake science stuff?
Why do we
I think it's the moon landing.
Can't we just kick their spies out and tell them to fuck off? When do I get some Chinese pussy? Okay, am I not a big enough media figure that the CCP, is it the CCP, Chinese Communist Party?
Yeah.
Why aren't they sending these hot spies to fuck with me? Suck my dick for blackmail. China, I'm waiting, okay?
Told that when Kaisi was visiting, she's from China, they were actually theory crafting about that. I read some of the threads and I showed them to her. It was so fucking funny.
Holy shit.
I have 300,000 YouTube subscribers.
Compromise? Yes.
250,000 probably. 200,000? How much on Hide Wars? If you have over 100,000 Twitter followers, you should demand that a hot Chinese spy comes and sucks your dick. Okay? You take a video.
Okay.
Whatever. Why is that? Am I not popular enough to get this fucking mingling? To get Bing Bing over here? Tesla Model X and Bing Bing over here sucking me. That's my price, China. Send them over. Do we need to build giant cities that nobody lives in to compete? Do we need to turn our country into a surveillance state fucking nightmare to compete? Do we need to essentially have slave labor to compete? What type of competition are you talking about? And at what cost? Competing with China is competing with literal slave labor, and that's impossible to compete with. It's not
true.
worth competing with. And nobody who has a real sense of what matters in life thinks anything about competing with China. We've been hearing this for 30 fucking years. As long as China has been an industrial nation, there have been headlines, The Economist. I remember this in the dentist office when I was a kid. China's looming on the horizon. We have to accept a lower quality of life immediately to compete with China. That's the thrust of every article. You, the American worker, you have to take less pay and accept more bullshit because there's a big boogeyman looming on the horizon. It's China for 30 years.
I think that's a good point. Yeah. You don't need to compete with China. Their population's collapsing. I have no idea. Yeah, I have no idea. I need to compete with something that's going to ruin itself. I don't know. I mean, I think that like you do have to compete with other countries. I mean, obviously you have to an extent, but if the level of competition ends up, you know, basically disenfranchising and fucking people over, then yeah, it's probably not worth it. And I think that also like people have agreed with that. That's why they outsource stuff, and that's why they do things overseas.
Years. Before that, it was Japan. It's constant. It's to keep wages suppressed. It's to make you shut up. Elon doubles down in this tweet, offering a false dichotomy. Either we have to have more legal immigration, or you, the person disagreeing with it, you want America to fail for your own personal gain. What personal gain are you talking about?
Well, of course people are going to care more about their own personal status than the country as a whole in an abstract sense. Yeah, of course. I mean, that makes every single person is going to think like that. And they might not say it outright, but at the end of the day, that's what they're going to vote on, and that's what they're going to do. Not patriots? Well, I think that really the idea of being a patriot is a two-way street. A lot of people aren't going to be trying to maintain the existence of an entity that is actively working against them. And again, if you think it's not, that's fine, but this is the way these people feel, and so that's just it.
You want America to fail for your own personal gain. Elon, what are you talking about? How does anybody personally gain from this? The only gain happening is in stock prices of tech companies. That's the gain. That's where the gain is. Cui bono. That's who stands to benefit from this arrangement. This tweet, it's not first principles thinking. It's not in good faith dialogue. This is a dishonest mischaracterization.
I don't think it's a dishonest mischaracterization. I think that it's just a misunderstanding of the way that people think. Because he's right, and you can make a very strong argument that stock prices do affect individuals, and you can use that to talk about 401ks or people's investments, and I think that you can make a strong argument that way. But the problem is that that argument, it's kind of like what I was saying before about like a lot of philosophy is what investment? Well, like if you have a job, for example, like, and again, oh, I don't have a job, sure, but there are a lot of people with a job who do have 401ks, right? It's too speculative. It's too rich take. No, see, you're not listening. You need to listen. Just listen, and before you come up with your opinion, listen to what I'm saying. There are a lot of things that are true factually and true in a greater sense, but that truth does not matter to an individual. Because when the individual experiences something that's negative, the only thing they're going to think about is their own personal circumstances. So you can't take an abstraction argument, distill it down to an individual person, and then say you should care because of your 401k. People don't give a fuck about their 401k if they can't afford, $400 in groceries.
I have no space for that.
How true is it that America lacks STEM talents? I think that it's both true and not true.
A liar. People say things in the heat of the moment. that are dishonest, though. This is a dishonest mischaracterization of the tens of thousands of people who are blowing up your website. This is not an own on Elon. This is not dunking on Elon. I know that you can bring the ban hammer down, and I know that you are going to be tempted to do so, that you already have with the Groypers, which, by the way, you have to undo that, man. You blanket banned people, not for saying or not for posting swastikas, but for stating their opinion on this H-1B issue.
Yeah, you can't ban people. Like, if the policy is that don't break the law and don't dox people, that's basically what the rules are. And then you ban people for things that aren't doxing and aren't breaking the law, then you're not following the rules. And if you're not following the rules, then nobody can predict what's going to happen. Free speech absolutist? Well, I think that it was a mistake for him to have said that. Nobody is a free speech absolutist. Almost nobody, at least. Almost everyone immediately has examples and forms of speech or, what's the word for it? Like, expression that they think should be against the law. I am? Well, no, you're not. I mean, like, for example, like you know, child sexual abuse material. Do you want that? That's free expression, right? That's a person expressing themselves. Do you want them expressing themselves that way? I don't. Okay. So let's just stop. Well, yeah, fraud. Yeah, exactly. That's against the law. Let's just move on.
Complete violation of the trust that the people you wanted to like you placed in you when you said that you're for free speech. It's straight George W. Bush. You're either with us or you're with the terrorists.
There it is.
That's what this is. You're either agreeing with me or you're fucking an enemy.
Yeah.
You're an enemy. It's not an argument. It's not a well-reasoned...
Yeah, people should not be getting banned for disagreeing with us, even if they disagree in a stupid way. Why do you got so many retards in your chat now? I think actually I don't. I think actually the majority of people in the chat are smart. There's a handful of clowns. Of course there's a handful of clowns. But
Loud minority.
We got a lot of smart people in chat. People that are thoughtful, intelligent, and add a lot to the stream. But you're always going to have some goof boys that are going to be sprinkled in there. There's 34,000 people watching the show. Big surprise, there's some of them that are idiots.
Position. It's just my way or the highway.
Yeah.
Is that what free speech is? Is that who you are? You can just
well,
be
that's what free speech was on Twitter before Elon. It was. It's like you either have this opinion or you get banned.
But you can be like Ellen DeGeneres. You can be like The Rock. And you can get Ozempic, you can get breast implants, start going on The View. Whatever you want for popularity. You can do that, of course. But to the extent that you have popularity,
sounds exciting.
Keep digging this hole. It will be misplaced, and it'll be there because you're rich. What does winning actually mean? Healthy, functioning societies, they need more than gadgets. They need more than Marvel, more than Goy slop. They need a shared ideology, heritage, history, beliefs and values, religion, or they collapse and they crumble. That's Babel, that's Rome, that's every empire that's been crushed because there wasn't social cohesion. Basic bitch libertarian principles aren't enough. Maybe they're enough to get VC funding, maybe they're enough to create an interesting exercise of some sort, but they're not enough to hold people together. And again, we're back to
I think he's right about that. And I think religion even is an extension of that. Yeah, I do. I think it's an extension of that. It's very hypocritical of Reddit to allow politics on their website, but not on your subreddit. Okay. But yeah, definitely.
Idea of people as a collection of economic units. That's what
is it a Nazi dog? It's a Nazi dog whistle to say that there's a shared culture cohesion is good. I mean, I feel like I don't think that's a Nazi dog whistle. I don't. Yeah. I mean, it's just not. I mean, that's not it.
This tree has an abundance of energy.
Foundation of Marxism, that reality is just math, and thus the justification for a lot of Marxism is also...
I think that this is a huge issue, like outside of like Marxism or anything, like a huge issue is that a lot of people that have, I would say, above average intelligence can't understand the way that an average person or a below average intelligence person thinks. And so they can't reason out and understand what this person values. So they keep trying to appeal to them in ways that are not immediate, not direct, and not first order principles. These are not things that you immediately are being affected by. And I think for a lot of people, religion, community, and these kinds of things do really matter a lot. And you can say that they shouldn't matter, but even if you're right, according to them, you're still wrong. And that's the issue, is that the strongest argument isn't an argument. And a lot of people are persuaded by things that transcend logic. And this has been something that I have unfortunately learned a lot in my life. Is that, like, I've always assumed that, well, if you just explain the truth to people, then they'll just listen to you.
You are nothing.
I've made a lot of mistakes in my life over that. I've really, well, you just tell people the truth. Just be honest. Just explain it to them. No, that's not how it works. Not if they're too dumb to understand the truth. Well, or that the truth doesn't matter to them. That's another really big component, is that a lot of people are selfish. And you think about it, right? Logically, people have evolved, and the ones that weren't selfish probably got filtered out a few million years ago. So there's a whole, the book that invented memes, the word memes, is called The Selfish Gene. It's like a whole type of study inside of psychology. It's a huge component.
So what leads Silicon Valley libertarian type people to attempt to quantify the unquantifiable. Yeah. Mount Rushmore, the space program, the interstate system, motion pictures, electricity. Yeah. These are all things that are not quantifiable. They're quantifiable in the sense that you can look back and you can say that they cost X amount of dollars, or that a certain amount of...
A good example of this, I don't know if anybody watched any of the, like the old movies, it's the Kingdom of Heaven. At the end of it, it's like, what's Jerusalem worth? And then Saladin is like nothing, and then he goes everything. That's exactly what Sam is talking about. That's exactly what he means. Yep.
Steel was used in their construction.
Yeah. Such a great line.
But these dream projects are unquantifiable.
Amazing movie.
No slider.
Old
in the
movie
program.
from 2005.
You can crank up the number of Indians to 200 million and bring the American dream to fruition faster. Okay? There's no
a lot of Indians.
Data entry point where you can bump up the Indians and get Chrysler buildings popping up everywhere. More Art Deco construction. We do not need more bloated code bases, more tech gadgets, more poorly run hotels, more work ethic, okay? What we need is leaders willing to fight for the American people, not for corporations, not for the idea of America, but for the American people. That is the only thing.
That's why they sabotage Bernie.
Thing that we need on the brink of collapse, on the eve of our crumbling. It needs to be something higher, a higher ideal.
Who is this guy? Well, he's a comedian. Yeah, he's a comedian. He makes funny videos a lot. And yeah, Sam Hyde. It's Boys Critical. It's the ghost of Kiev.
Than tech company market caps. Yeah. If it's just that, then it's just noise. It's just not reality. Reality is the hundreds of thousands of kids who are graduating with massive college debt, hundreds of job applications. They're being looked over for people who are not us. That's not a meritocracy. That's not some idealistic, high-minded thing. It's just money. Apple and Google might win, but America will be worse. The soil that all this winning flourishes out of is salted. And that means that the next Apple, the next Google...
This is so wrong. I think that a lot, and this is what I was saying before, a lot of the people that focus on analytics and they focus on, like, Well, statistically, I think that a lot of people are really missing the big point that he's talking about, is that those things are not relevant to people when they can't pay their bills. These are not important. And I think this is probably one of the biggest issues that the internet has, is that it's very hard for people to discuss values because nobody is going to be empathetic and accept that other people's values that are different than their own have merit in their own right. And I think that this is the problem, is that you have a lot of people, again, who are, you know, I would say above average intelligence in a lot of cases, that just simply can't understand why these abstract concepts are not compelling to an average person. But they're not. And I think that that gets proven every 4 years or every 2 years. But people never figure it out. And also, most people are average. That's why they're called average.
Will be Chinese. Potentially the next SpaceX will be Chinese. Wouldn't that be strange? Wouldn't that be interesting if China makes it to Mars first?
Oh.
It would be great for humanity. Why don't we do it? Let's do it. China makes it to Mars before America. Does that sound like fun? It's just humans. They're just interchangeable economic units. Why wouldn't we want that? I think we do it. It sounds good to me. How do we define winning?
I think a really good example of this is actually a point that Neil deGrasse Tyson brought up, is that one of the big reasons for people to go to the moon and to focus on space exploration is to inspire the next generation of people that want to go to Mars and explore more of space. And I do think that it creates that outcome. Tyson's an asshole? Okay, well, he was right about that.
That was Asmongold that I spit on. I killed it. I'm not dissing Asmongold. I'm just playing around. I spit on...
What, I have water on me? It's gonna kill me? Is this it? This is another shower joke? Is that it?
Moist Critical. I'll spit on his face.
Is that it?
Fucking guy. Nah, we love Moist. We have a deal with Moist right now. It's for nicotine pouches. These are Moist nicotine pouches. I call them Moist. You know Moist is a Yiddish word? I didn't know Moist Critical is actually Jewish. Did you know that? Crazy fact. Winning is winning.
Charlie Sheen.
People were saying that I'm Jewish because Asmongold. Really, really funny. Really funny.
Making it so that tech companies have even higher valuations. Is that winning? It's the valuation of Netflix. I figured it out. That's why we're not winning, is because Netflix stock isn't high enough. That's the only way to win.
You have to add more commercials.
I want to kill my neighbors and burn them alive and blow up my car, but it's okay because Netflix is worth $3 trillion.
That's a lot.
I want to cut my cock off and scramble my brain with fucking fluoride. I'm gonna win because Netflix is worth $3 trillion.
Yeah.
I can't believe the dollars are this high. I can't believe we're winning this much. The dollars are this high.
I think a good personal example of this is the amount of people that we're trying to assure average, like, citizens that, you know, oh, well, the economy has made a big recovery, and then somebody goes to the grocery store and they see, you know, I don't know, like a box of cookies is like $6, and they're like, no, it hasn't, you're lying.
We have
bacon is
such good
$30,
drones and
yeah.
spying technology. We're winning. That's the most retarded thing I've ever heard. At least leftoid medicine vaccine brain niggas. Bleep that out, please. I said people. At least people whose blood has been replaced with vaccines and are so far on the left they salute Mickey Mouse. They and are so far on the left they salute Mickey Mouse.
Did they say maggots or the N-word?
Oh god. Wow.
Hang on. Let me just check.
And are so far on the bleep that out. Never heard. At least leftoid medicine vaccine brain niggas. Bleep that out, please. I said people. At least people whose blood
I
is
think that was the N-word.
and so far on the left, they
Beautiful.
salute Mickey Mouse. They fiends.
So far on the
on
left.
the left, they salute Mickey Mouse.
Oh.
Oh god. Wow.
They think that they're helping people.
Yeah.
If winning is just drones doing an aerial display while a robot jerks me off to sample my DNA, then everything is lost. Yeah, I killed a homeless person today, Chris. Did you know that? It was free speech. I said, you fucking dirty ass bum ruining my street. I'll kill you. And then I used a speech gun to shoot a speech bullet into his speech head.
Oh, God.
I worked an NFL cheerleader team. The guys, too. I used free speech on them. Do they have male cheerleaders in the NFL?
I don't think so.
National Flag League. Look it up, please. Does the NFL have male cheerleaders? That is awesome if that's true. A third of the league's male cheerleaders. America is the greatest country on earth.
Wow.
Here's your male cheerleaders.
Is that a real
everybody on fentanyl? Everybody working at
I feel like you do have, I mean, like, mascots are male cheerleaders in a way.
I mean,
like, if you think about it, they kind of are.
Angelo's.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with
working at the mall. They're all retards. Everybody who's had their lives destroyed by Big Pharma, by the grist mill of inflation and taxation. Everybody that's been betrayed by their leadership in this country, are they all retards? Is everybody who's got...
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of them actually are. But if there's so many of them that they're the majority, then if you're looking to win an election, you need to appeal to retards. That's the truth. That's it. Yeah, I mean, yeah, question resolved. Yeah, no, I think the truth is, yeah, I think a lot of people are really dumb. I do, and I feel like in so many cases, this proves itself to be the fact. Like, maybe just ignorance of the truth? No. I think that a lot of people are actually just stupid. Straight up. Like, I really think that. Like, and it's half the people are dumber. Yeah, half the people are dumber than average. Doing the math, that checks out.
This is a lot of people who has $400 in their bank account and is getting hit with overdraft fees and has the landlord from hell. Are they all
It's not just the overdraft fees, it's the low balance fees as well. That you have to pay money each month to have the money in the bank. You have to pay to give the bank your money because you don't have enough money for the bank to make money off of your money.
Tards, you work at a sub sandwich shop. You couldn't invent PayPal. If you really believe that these people are all retards, then you have no place in the discourse going on about the future of this country. You are just a computer guy. And I don't think you really believe that. I hope to God that you don't. But if that's really what you believe, and you're not a leader, I could say fuck you, I could say take a step back and fuck your own.
Well, no, I think it is true. It's just that you can't. Like, basically, my viewpoint is that just because people are stupid doesn't mean that they're not entitled to human decency. So, like, it's the same as, like, I don't really feel bad for people that get scammed, but I don't want people to get scammed. Like, I don't feel empathy or sympathy for them, but I feel like a responsibility to help them. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Face. But I'll say this. If you really believe that the American people are retards, which they are, we got male cheerleaders
we
in
all
the
know
NFL.
this.
But if you really do not
Everybody knows
have in your heart grace and respect for the Homer Simpson vinyl siding economy shit
You
box.
got to keep in mind, Homer Simpson was a manager of a nuclear fucking power plant. He not that stupid.
Driving retards who
Yeah.
make your dream possible. If you have a heart, if you are a human being, then that will sting harder.
And you got to keep in mind also, like, The Simpsons caricatured Homer Simpson after, like, maybe 10 seasons or, like, 8 seasons. But early Simpsons, Homer wasn't, like, the brightest, you know, tool in the box, but he was an intelligent, hardworking, good guy.
Possible.
He
If
got
you
worse,
have
he
a
did.
heart, if you are a human being, then that will sting harder than telling you to go fuck yourself. You can do the go fuck yourself all day. I tell myself to go fuck myself. You can say that all day. Fuck you. Fuck you. I say that in the mirror when I wake up and when I put makeup on. Who gives a fuck? If you believe these people are retards and you don't have any goodwill towards them, then you're not a leader. You're just a nerd. And there's plenty of those. There's plenty of nerds who got lucky. I bought Bitcoin, Magic the Gathering online exchange.
Oh!
I got lucky. There's no shortage of nerds who got lucky. There's this disturbing idea from the BoomerCon right that America is just a collection of ideas, and you bring everybody in the world, the teeming masses who are desperate for a half gallon of milk, you bring them here and all of a sudden they're hit like lightning with this idea that makes them able to make this country stronger. This country's never been weaker, and it's never been more open to foreigners who aren't us. These two things.
I don't know. I think it used to be way more open, right? Because, like, you just have people coming over on boats and shit. But, like, I don't really know how true that actually was. So it's hard really for me to say, like, you know, gangs in New York, etc. And so, like, yeah, I'm not sure about that. There's somebody here? Yeah.
They're not unrelated. They're directly related. Would Ben Shapiro say the same thing about Israel? Israel's just a collection of ideas. Would Vivek say the same thing about India? India is just a collection of ideas, really good ideas. That's why they're doing so good. Grope women on the train. That's not a glib remark, by the way. I make a lot of jokes about Indians in my stand-up act. I had an Indian woman come up to me after a show. I thought she was going to chew me out and beat my ass, ear-beating Indian style, for the jokes that I made. She said to me, "Thank you for saying that. I went there with my 13-year-old sister, and they pulled her pants down on the train."
Jesus Christ.
Is that an Indian idea? When we bring them over, does that idea suddenly vanish and they get the neural net download of American ideas? Is that how it works? The people who are mad at you right now don't view America as a collection of ideas. It's not an economic zone. I hate how there's this argument against Americans asking them what they built. If you're so great, what did you build? What did you build? Nothing significant that gets built gets built on an individualistic scale. The greatest things that humans have built, cathedrals, which if you disagree with this, it's just wrong. I mean, computers are pretty up there, but cathedrals are a good example of this. Cathedrals are built over hundreds of years.
Yeah.
They're built not just by the army of stone masons.
They're also built by the aliens, just like the pyramids are. Yep. I'll be right back. Give me a sec.
Build them, but by the towns who pay for it. They are the cream sitting on top of the cake. The cake is the soil. The cake is the vinyl siding dumbasses who are your customers, who are the people who pay for this shit by putting their retirement accounts in Vanguard mutual funds. They're the people who you owe a debt to, a debt for being able to do the stuff that you do. These H-1B tech workers that are
Yeah, nobody does something like this on their own. That's always true. Yeah, and like you have to like usually the government even helps people, etc.
So many of them are
This has 6.5 million views on X already. God damn.
Built. They're maintaining code bases for stuff that was built years ago.
Yeah.
What are they making? Social media apps that collect all your data. They're making to-do apps, dating apps. Who fucking cares, man?
Well, dating
What
apps.
did they build? Mobile phone games. It's just stuff that feeds more into consumerism. It's not actually
Anime
making life
girls.
better for anybody. But this sentiment that Americans aren't good enough. That's one of the darker things that has happened here. I know Vivek Ramaswamy does believe it to be the case, and for him, this Twitter bomb was a mask-off moment in a way that I hope it wasn't for you. But that sentiment and the Twitter deboosting, algorithm change, blanket ban, all that stuff, those are the darker things in the sense of not good for humanity, not good for the future. Running Twitter the same way your enemies did before you bought it from them.
I think that if you want to talk about banning people, it's very hard to say whether people got banned or not. I don't know. But because, like, the reason why is that some people were putting forward information that somebody got banned, but then it had the indicator that they had closed the account themselves. Because, like, there's two notifications. There's, like, this account has been removed and this account no longer exists. But you could easily say that they just gave it the other notification, so it seems like they didn't. So, like, I don't think that's really convincing to anybody, right? That already believes the other way, but took their blue checks away. Yeah, I don't think that I don't think that you should lose your verification status, because if verification status, and this was a big problem that Twitter had, is that basically Twitter had this big issue with advertising, which I guess they don't have to worry about that anymore. But at least not for a while. So they had this issue that because people that were verified ended up being kind of like it was like almost like Twitter gave them a seal of approval, or they're like, yeah, we know who you are, you are who you are. And it became like kind of this is a person who represents Twitter's values. It became a really big problem when people got verified and then they said bad stuff. And I thought that Elon made a very good decision by taking verification and just making it a subscription rather than this weird form of like, yeah, like this like nobility of social media. How fucking cringe. How extremely fucking cringe. Yeah, no, just let people pay for it and that's it. Like an endorsement. Yeah, exactly.
Is that what you wanted when you bought this thing? Is that the let it sink in moment?
Yeah.
Is that what you envisioned for the global meeting grounds? And we're not talking about just making the 10% of people on the left and the 10% of people on the right mad. The middle is the Overton window. You're just talking about satisfying the Overton window.
Yeah.
This is censorship. You're engaging in censorship pretty much right off the rip here. You just bought Twitter. You just got in with Trump. You just became a Republican. You just courted the MAGA base. That's a pretty big betrayal of the role that you have stepped in to fill.
I think that most people that are aligned with Twitter in terms of like values, like their value aligned with Twitter, I think that they would disagree with banning people even if they were saying things that were really bad. I think that there's like a handful of things that I would say that there is an overwhelming consensus that you should ban and like delete this and censor this stuff. Like, for example, illegal activities, any illegal activities, like whether it's, you know, CP, whether it's anything else that's like really bad, like threats of
Hey!
and
Don't bring me in Cyberpunk!
Like, anime. Well, I mean, I feel like those are the two actual real ones that people, pretty much everybody agrees these are bad. Everything else, no.
Whether or not it's even true, okay? I couldn't work at SpaceX. I don't have a delusion about that. It doesn't matter because you are in charge of American companies. You are an American leader. So what matters is that that's the sentiment people are walking away with after your tweet storm. It's not helped by these Patrick Bet-David, wolf in sheep's clothing, cocksucker podcaster guys who are just up your ass because they have money. The extent to which you deserve to be a king, more importantly, or equally importantly, how posterity will look upon your works is directly related to your attitude, your benevolence towards the American people.
This is one thing that a lot of people that are, I think, like, this is probably an issue that I have too, personally, is that I don't really care a lot about how people see me, and so I'm an asshole. And because I'm an asshole, I alienate a lot of people, and I make people not like me just because of the way that I communicate and the way that I act. And it is a negative. It absolutely is a negative in some cases. Now, I mean, at the end of the day, like, I can't do anything else really besides that, right? Because I'm a dickhead. But at the same time, people care a lot about that, and they would rather have somebody who, you know, treated them right do something bad to them in a lot of cases, as long as it's not something super bad, than somebody who condescends to them and treats them like shit, help them out a little bit. And I've noticed this a lot. It's that, like, and in sales, I think this is anybody who's done sales or has been involved in sales can probably attest to some variation of this, is that the most important thing in sales is your personal relationship with the person that you're selling to. That is the most important thing, and people want to do business with people that they like. If you're real and not fake, yeah, exactly. Sadly, yes. Well, again, like, you always have people that are, you know, lamenting the fact that people are people. But, you know, true, you're right, but that's just the way it is.
Cybertruck's cool, but if America crumbles, it's because we've taken on too many outsiders who don't give a shit about the country. Then the Cybertruck will be a footnote in a Wikipedia. It'll be the DeLorean. It'll be something interesting. People look back, oh, that was kind of cool. You know why they won't be driving it? Because they'll be driving a Neo, and China will be the first to Mars.
Oh.
This isn't fixed by moving the goalposts of what an American is. It would be a lot easier if an American was just an Indian with an Ivy League degree. It would make this whole problem go away instantly if that worked. If you could just wave your hand and say that an American is a Guatemalan who was born here, that's an American. We wouldn't have to have this painful conversation. It would be so easy if you could do that, if it were a computer simulation. That's Marvel movie shit. An American is whoever Doctor Strange brings through the portal to beat Thanos. The new Spider-Man is an American. It's a lesbian from Sri Lanka who just came here to start up a cupcake business. But she listens to Cold Wave. And she just came here to start up her hair dye business.
Whoa.
She's an American. She's here for the American dream. That's not reality. That's math. That's Marxism. That's computer programmer.
I don't think that it's binary. I think that, yeah, obviously,
It
if you
can be
replace
both.
all of the people in America with people that aren't in America, would it still be America? The answer is no. But I do think that there are a lot of people that embody American ideals that come over to the country and are a positive for the country. It's a matter of degree more than it's a matter of reality. Because I think that it's very obvious that, like, we all know people probably, if not personally, then you know people, like, you know, just in media. These are people who are not Americans by birth, maybe, or, you know, their family wasn't, or maybe their parents weren't, but they come to America and they have a, you know, a lot of people come to America because they like those ideals and they want to be a part of that. And I think that's important to have, right? It doesn't mean to just import every single person. Oh, of course not. But to have some of that is not a bad thing. What are American ideals? I would say American ideals are... let me think. Extreme individuality and extreme individualism. I think that's probably the core of most American ideals. Yeah, and like from that, like that, if that's the tree, there's like branches that are, you know, like representative government, branches that are like, you know, liberty and freedom of speech and owning a gun. But that the tree there is individualism. I think that's the main thing. Self-determination, self-preservation. Yeah, sure.
Simulation bullshit. We all know what an American is.
Yeah.
And all these paragraph-long definitions and high-minded ideas, it's just propaganda. We know what an American is. And if you're not here to help the American people, then your usefulness to us is over with. The right wing, Republicans, conservatives, etc., they are trolls and memers and shit posters, and they have acerbic ideas.
It's crazy how every single other politician has like a professional photo of themselves as their picture, and then Donald Trump looks like fucking Braveheart with war paint on, and it's the American flag, and it's some AI-generated image, and he's the president. Okay.
Also the most forgiving people. They're the most forgiving people. Anytime anybody does anything remotely
the Punisher,
based, they are absorbed by the right. Anna Kasparian.
This is what happens with me, is that, like, I have a lot of, and you guys can probably see this, because, like, I disagree with Sam on a few, like, a few elements here. I have a lot of left-wing ideas, right? I mean, I wouldn't really even consider myself right-wing, but a lot of people do, because, again, I think that there's a lot of people in the right wing that are not really used to having allies.
Talking about not feeling safe in her neighborhood. That's based, man. Anna Kasparian was red-pilled this whole time? I can't believe it. Damn. People, broadly speaking, do not expect you to be full-on 1950s racist Hank Hill.
Anna Kasparian, she was one of the co-hosts of The Young Turks for like over 10 years. And so she, I think, had like she had an experience where she felt unsafe or was made unsafe in a public place. And then she complained about it, and then people got mad at her for complaining about it, I think. And then that kind of radicalized her. I think that's basically what it was. I could be wrong, but, like, that's what I remember it as. So that's sexually assaulted? Yeah, no, I didn't want to get, like, graphic, but yeah, basically.
That's not feeling unsafe, that's being unsafe. What the fuck?
That's not what they're looking for, okay? They're fine with the Silicon Valley tech version, the occasionally based, occasionally Neil deGrasse Tyson soy face. They love that Elon.
What I mean by radicalized, some people are saying that as if, like, her viewpoints now are normal. What I think happens a lot of times with people, and I could use her as an example. I could also use Elon Musk as an example. I could use J.K. Rowling as an example. I could use Nick Merckx as an example. And I think that I could probably come up with a few other names, is that a lot of times people display one form of a right-wing viewpoint, and then that immediately causes them to get alienated from left-wing communities, which causes them to go farther to the right than they would naturally would have gone, because those people were pushing them away so much that they found another group, and it shifted them more. Joe Rogan's another great example. It shifted them more to that other side than what would have naturally happened through their own personal inertia. You see kind of what I'm saying? Yeah, so that's what I mean by radicalized. And those are some examples of, I think, it happening.
It's this idea that Americans aren't good enough, this misunderstanding of what America is. You're just as bad as the people you bought the website from, if this continues to be the case.
True.
Are you able to listen to valid criticism? It's not from Russian bots. It's not a coordinated attack on you. It's tens of thousands of people pissed off because they think you betrayed them. I hope to God you're a leader. And the rest of you can keep watching this right now. Check it out.
I think that I think most people are probably frustrated that Elon said some of the things that he said, but I think that the issue also is the way that it's communicated. And I feel like the issue, like, for example, like Vivek Ramaswamy saying, like, that American culture is lazy. I think that if somebody like Donald Trump said that, or I said that, I mean, not that we're equivalent, but like a person who is like a native-born American who's a white person, let's just speak plain English here, said that, I think that it would have been received in a much more positive light. And I think that the main reason why it was received in a negative light is because it was coming from a person who was perceived as an other. I don't think so. Really? You don't think so? I don't know. I feel like there's been a lot of criticisms and commentary on like American culture being aesthetics and like face value first and substance later. I feel like that's been incredibly common for years, and I think that a lot of people have expressed that. Yeah, fakery. Yeah, Vivek's native born. I'm not arguing about that. I think Vivek's an American too. I like Vivek. I think Vivek's great. I even agreed with his post. I think he's right. But what I'm saying is that when you're conveying a message, the messenger matters. And the way that you convey that message matters as well. And you might think that it shouldn't matter. And I actually, in fact, agree with you in a lot of cases. I think that people should be able to look through the bullshit and they should be able to just see the message and think about the idea. But the fundamental reality is that that's not what happens. What happens is that if you communicate something in a way that's extremely aggro, a really great example of this is, I think, Destiny. Destiny communicates a lot of ideas that in a lot of cases are factually accurate in a way that alienates people.
I'm getting hungry. I'm gonna take a break, I think. Let's see. Waypoint unlocked. Yep. I will be back later.